subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Just a larger magical creature. You even have this kind of thing. Ivan believed that Dumbledore, with the old headmaster's experience, must have encountered something similar to the basilisk. It is normal to be prepared for this. What about you? This magic item is very rare, and I only have this one. Dumbledore only had one pair of glasses, but he gave them to Ivan. This was his protection for Ivan, and also his confidence in his own strength. A mere basilisk. I, the White Lord of Hogwarts, don't take it seriously at all. Thank you. Ivan didn't act pretentiously and put on the glasses directly. These glasses seemed to have the function of correcting vision. Although Ivan was not nearsighted, he could see things much more clearly after wearing the glasses. The two walked in the silent corridor. The teachers and students in the school did not dare to go out casually because of the riot caused by Voldemort. Of course, Ivan didn't know whether the Weasley brothers would really abide by the rules. Soon, Ivan and Dumbledore came to the bathroom where the entrance to the secret room was located. Faintly, Ivan could still hear Myrtle crying. "Professor, how about we assign opponents?" Ivan said, "I will deal with Voldemort. You help me deal with the basilisk." A powerful dark wizard, such a good training target. Ivan does not want to miss it. And with Dumbledore behind him, Ivan does not need to worry the strength of the old headmaster that is full of security. "Okay, but you have to be careful." "Don't worry," Ivan smiled. "If I really can't beat him, I will definitely call for help immediately." Dumbledore shook his head. The old headmaster really didn't understand why Ivan was so thick-skinned. He cast a disillusionment spell, and then, under Ivan's instructions, he said to the faucet carved with a snake in Parseltongue, "Open it." Buzz, the faucet emitted a dazzling white light and began to rotate rapidly. Then the pool also moved. The two watched the pool slowly disappear from their sight, revealing a very thick water pipe that could accommodate a person. Good design. In the deserted place, Dumbledore's praise came. Without delay, the two cast the levitation spell and entered the pipe one after the other. The pipe twisted and turned, winding and winding, with a steep slope all the way down. This is a dark stone tunnel, large enough for people to stand inside. Ivan cast a variant of the illumination spell, Firefly Glimmer, to attach self-luminous fireflies to the surrounding objects, dispelling the darkness here. Pop-pat-pat. Ivan looked down and saw the bones of small animals, such as mice piled up like a mountain. Looking forward, a huge snake skin was coiled on the ground of the tunnel. The snake skin was green and bright, just the skin of a venomous snake. This basilisk is at least more than 20 meters. Ivan made a simple estimate and said, "If it is really Slytherin's pet, it is a snake king that has lived for thousands of years." The 1,000-year-old basilisk. Even Dumbledore had never heard of it. These pipes. Dumbledore noticed the extensive pipes. The old headmaster couldn't imagine that there was a 1,000-year-old basilisk living underground in Hogwarts. And from the looks of it, it could freely enter and exit the entire castle through the pipe system of Hogwarts. When he thought of this, even Dumbledore felt his scalp tingling. "Slytherin, do you really want to kill Muggle-born wizards?" Ivan subconsciously raised this question. If so, then this should be the earliest pure case so far, right? "Ivan, when we discuss this issue, we must first figure out why the problem arises." Dumbledore and Ivan were surrounded by a soundproof barrier, so there was no need to worry about being discovered by Voldemort. Moreover, two great wizards were blocking the door of a remnant soul. What else do we need a plan for? Just go up and do it. What do you mean? The wizarding world 1,000 years ago was different from what we have now. Dumbledore said, "At that time, the persecution of wizards by Muggles was extremely severe. Slytherin may be worried that those wizards of Muggle origin will in turn help Muggles to deal with wizards. Not recruiting half-bloods and Muggle-born wizards, only purebloods, can avoid internal friction among wizards and will not be used by Muggles. This method of killing with one blow is indeed in line with the style of Slytherin." Ivan can even imagine the scene of that year. Gryffindor. You are too extreme, Salazar. Slytherin, Godric, you will regret it. Gryffindor, I am the headmaster of Hogwarts. Of course, as far as Ivan knows, the first headmaster of Hogwarts was Rowena Ravenclaw, who proposed to establish a magic school, not Gryffindor. This book setting, don't be too serious. Suddenly, I feel that the Big Four should have been very happy back then. I guess Gryffindor and Slytherin have played the game of you regretting my shadow a lot. In addition, Ivan also tends to agree with Dumbledore's judgment. After all, if Slytherin really kills his students, how could Gryffindor become close friends with him? Soon, the two came to the end of the tunnel. There stood a solid wall with two snakes entwined with each other carved on it, with big, shining emeralds in their eyes. It seems we have arrived, Headmaster. Ivan stood in front of the wall, and a hissing whisper like a snake sounded in the empty space. With Dumbledore's parcel tongue, two snakes separated, the stone wall cracked in the middle, and then slowly slid to both sides. This is a huge basement. Many stone pillars with coiled and entangled snakes carved on them support the ceiling that melts into the darkness above, casting long and strange shadows on the whole room filled with green and mysterious mist. Looking up, Ivan saw a huge statue. It was an old, monkey-like face with a sparse long beard that almost dragged to the hem of the wizard's robe carved from stone, and two gray big feet standing on the smooth floor of the room. Slytherin, Ivan subconsciously said the owner of the statue. Ivan Ambrosius, looking down, he saw a figure standing under the statue. He slowly turned around, staring at Ivan with blood-red eyes. Should I say you are courageous or too conceited? Tom, don't call me that. Voldemort is in a very bad state now. He is pale, his skin is covered with red veins, and cracks on his body can be seen faintly. Why? Ivan showed no respect for Voldemort, but strode forward. I call you Tom. That's your name, like Ivan, Albus, or do you want me to call you Riddle? 11 with Dumbledore's support behind him. He is so tough. If the atmosphere was not wrong, Ivan really wanted to say to Voldemort, "Stop it, Tom. There are only Dumbledore outside." Enough. The surname Riddle is undoubtedly a taboo for Voldemort. Why do you know this place? Voldemort did not expect Ivan to find this place. He didn't know how Ivan found the location of the secret room and how he opened the door. Serpentese. Voldemort looked at Ivan suspiciously. Are you also a Serpentese? Who knows? Ivan did not answer directly, but walked to a place less than 20 meters away from Voldemort. This attitude of being sure of himself almost PD'd Voldemort off. Compared to these, I think we should continue the unfinished duel, right? Ivan drew out his wand, seemingly casually, but in fact his magic eye and spiritual vision were activated at the same time, ready to guard against the possible attack of the basilisk at any time. But Ivan was not afraid of Voldemort. In the previous battle, Ivan had already figured out Voldemort's background. If Voldemort hadn't been so fast an apparition, Ivan would definitely turn on the obscurus mode and kill him directly. Of course, it's not too late now. Do you think you're going to win? Voldemort was completely enraged and raised his hand to fire an Avada. Green light bloomed in this basement. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Ivan fired a weapon that removed your weapons, and Voldemort completed the magic link again. Zizizizi. Then the confrontation began. Unsurprisingly, Ivan had the upper hand this time. The colliding magic quickly moved towards Voldemort, and no matter how much the latter concentrated his magic, it was useless. At this moment, a sneer flashed across Voldemort's angry face. Day, splash, accompanied by splashes of water. A huge black shadow jumped out from under the water on one side, and the yellow eyes stared at Ivan, and the bloody mouth pounced straight down. It was the basilisk, which did not appear like in the original book, but hid in the water early. In the dark, Dumbledore's eyes were slightly fixed, and the protective spell was ready 3.0, ready to be launched at any time. Get out! But before Dumbledore could make a move, the surging black fog rushed out of Ivan's body like a storm, and then blew away the basilisk's body of more than 20 meters. What? Voldemort's eyes widened, his gaze full of disbelief. What is this? What is this black mist that is gushing out of the body of this little ghost in front of him? Silent. Obscurial? A word popped up in Voldemort's mind, and he exclaimed, "You aren't obscurial." In an instant, Voldemort understood everything. Why does Ivan have such unreasonable magic power? Why is his spell so strong? This kid is an obscurial, and he can control the host of the obscurial. Incredible. There really is such a thing as you. Voldemort disconnected the magic connection with Ivan, and he completely understood the current situation. And when facing an obscurial who can maintain a rampage state at any time, Voldemort really wants to slap his previous self to death. 11 years old, or 12 years old, you are still alive, an obscurial who has lived past 10 years old. When Voldemort first entered school, it was the most glorious era of Grindelwald. It's just that Credence's story is too secretive and belongs to the dark history of the American magic world. Therefore, apart from those involved, other people, especially foreign wizards, know very little about it. Voldemort has read books about the Obscurus and the Obscurus and knows the terrible power of this force, destroying everything with ease unmatched. Voldemort thoroughly understood the description of the Obscurus in the book, which was incredibly powerful. Chapter 75. Lihua, we should be in the same group? Ivan. Voldemort once again extended his invitation. You should know about the curse of the Obscurus. Join me. I will help you solve the curse so that you can live. To be honest, Voldemort was very afraid of Ivan. But if Ivan could become a member of the Death Eaters, with such a great general, when Voldemort resurrects him with the Philosopher's Stone, what would Dumbledore fear when the two of them join forces? As for whether Ivan will become a threat in the future, in Voldemort's view, this is not a problem at all. He has a Horcrux and can fail many times, but Ivan has only one life. As long as he is prepared, Ivan will be taken down by him sooner or later. Is this the only thing you keep saying? Ivan was speechless. He really didn't know where Voldemort got the confidence to recruit him. You are now living like 10 rats in a ditch. While speaking, Ivan controlled the black fog with his other hand, suppressing the basilisk and making it unable to move. During the whole process, Ivan turned his back to the basilisk and didn't give it any chance. On the other side, Voldemort wanted to continue to bewitch, but the pleasant cry from the sky made his face change drastically. Phoenix! Fawkes appeared, staring at the basilisk. Seeing the basilisk being suppressed, a bird swooped down and pecked the two eyes of the basilisk with its sharp beak. No! Voldemort roared in pain. He knew that his greatest threat to Ivan was destroyed by the phoenix. The basilisk lost its eyes and was just a powerful beast. Perhaps its skin had a high resistance to magic, but with Ivan's magic, a large beast like this could be suppressed by any transfiguration. Thanks, Fawkes. Ivan did not miss this good opportunity. He controlled the water flow on both sides to bind the basilisk. Then he cast a freezing spell, turning the water rope into ice, and froze the half-body of the basilisk that was about to go blind. Take care of yourself more than your little pet, Tom. Being stimulated by Ivan, Voldemort's already broken soul could no longer bear it, and he cast magic again in anger. Do you have amnesia? You know you can't beat me in a duel, but you still want to fight. It seems that you not only lost your nose, but also your brain. While maintaining a magical connection with Voldemort, all kinds of trash talk came out of Ivan's mouth as if it was free. Dumbledore, who was hiding behind the scenes, twitched his lips slightly. Dumbledore had seen Ivan's style of talking nonsense when fighting many times before. Every time, the insider was so angry with Ivan that he wanted to kill him. You know, that's Snape, the most sarcastic person in Hogwarts. When it comes to venomous tongue, Snape has never been afraid of anyone. But he met Ivan. Ivan, who knew Snape's past, said something heartbreaking, and every sentence was about Lily. Occasionally, James Potter, Sirius, Lupin, and others were interspersed, almost cutting and chewing up Snape's black history and feeding it to the surrounding spectators. I heard that your mother doesn't look very good. So you inherited old Riddle's good looks, right? No wonder you want to make yourself unrecognizable. Ivan was doing 3 things at once, suppressing the basilisk while engaging in a magical battle with Voldemort, And he kept saying, "At least you don't have to see that annoying face when you look in the mirror. You deserve to die." Ambrosius. Voldemort had never wanted to kill someone as much as he did now. He no longer cared about Quirrell's body, and the flames emitting a terrifying aura condensed in his hands. What is this? Ivan's eyes condensed, and he recognized the flame. Fierce fire. The flame was only the size of a fist at first, but in just a few breaths, the flame had climbed to the chest of the Slytherin statue and then spread in all directions. Boom! The breath of destruction and destruction was vented wantonly. In Ivan's magic eyes, the black and red sticky magic seemed to swallow the whole world. Ivan had never seen such a terrible and dangerous spell. It was like a gate to hell, constantly pulling everything into the endless chaos. Is this fiend fire? In the original Harry Potter book, fiend fire appeared in Crabbe's hands for the first time, and it was also the last time. In his previous life, Ivan often saw fiend fire in fan fiction, as if it was a simple black magic that could be seen everywhere. However, the fact is that whether it is fiend fire or Avada Kedavra, they're not magic that ordinary wizards can master. Crabbe can cast fire, not because of his profound magical attainments, but he is evil enough and crazy enough. Many people think that Crabbe is a moron with a low level of magic, but you have to know that in the original book, Crabbe is one of the only 3 little masters in the history of Hogwarts who dare to kill people. No wonder Dumbledore told me to be careful of these black magics. If there was no magic eye, Ivan probably wouldn't feel the horror of fiend fire. The more the wizard is exposed to the fiendish fire, the closer his will be to the source of this power, and he will be bewitched by it and step into the abyss step by step. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Ivan raised his wand, and the golden light blocked the surging fiendish fire. He looked at Voldemort standing behind the sea of fire. He was laughing hideously. The blood-red eyes stared at Ivan, and the wand in his hand controlled the crazy will in the flames and kept it in one place. The fiendish fire touched the basement, the pool, the sculptures, and the walls. There was no burning process, not even a little bit of burning smell. All of this turned into ashes in the flames and became nutrients to nourish the fiendish fire. It grew bigger and bigger, and finally turned into a giant fire dragon tens of meters high. Roar, the fire dragon, seemed to have reached synchronization with Voldemort's thinking. It crawled there, staring at him. "This is my last chance for you." Voldemort's eyes were cold. Submission or death? Ivan was amazed at Voldemort's control over the fiend fire. It was already amazing to be able to suppress such a violent force. You know, there is no concept of friend or foe for the fiend fire. Once it is released, even the wizard who casts the fiend fire can only control it with absolute will. In other words, if you can't stop the fiend fire of this level, then you can't control it. Like Voldemort, using the fire of the house to create such a huge fire dragon. This means that even if someone casts the same level of fiend fire to attack Voldemort, it will be easily resolved by it. Then it becomes the master of the house and becomes a tool for Voldemort to attack the caster. Lihua has no master. Before losing control, it can be seized by a stronger person. After losing control, it can also be used by others. Lihua's only enemy is the world itself. It is an evil dragon that destroys the world. Only heroes who save the world can restrain it and control it. Ka. Although he was surrounded by Lihua, Ivan felt that he had never been so excited as he was now. The magic wand in his hand made a faint buzzing sound, and a series of red gold lines appeared in the high temperature, like a spell and like some kind of motto. Dex. So, with a loud cry of a phoenix, the red gold divine bird flew out of Ivan's Wudong magic wand. Fire God opens the way. Ivan swung his wand vigorously and cast the most perfect Fire God opens the way so far. What? Voldemort's pupils shrank slightly. In front of him, the originally ferocious and terrifying fire dragon seemed to be chopped by an invisible sword. The next moment, the fire dragon split into 2 from the center of the eyebrows downward. The red gold divine bird flew into the air, swallowing the flames, and it expanded at a speed visible to the naked eye. Damn it! Voldemort was shocked. and he quickly gathered the other half of the flame to avoid being taken away by Ivan's force. Fire God. This is Fire God. Dumbledore actually gave you this magic. Fire God opens the way is Dumbledore's original spell, which has absolute control over the flames. Voldemort had witnessed it with his own eyes. Dumbledore's Vulcan cleared the way. With just a flick of the wand, the forest fire that stretched for dozens of miles retreated to both sides, as if making way for the Vulcan walking on Earth. And now, the same magic is reproduced in the hands of first-year wizard Z.A. On the side, the old headmaster, who was watching the magic duel between Ivan and Voldemort, looked dazed. He looked at the scene of the red gold phoenix standing in the flames, circling the sky and lowering its tail to protect it, and couldn't help but murmured, "Dumbledore." "Dex," Fawkes chirped happily, ignoring the fiend fire and circling playfully around the phoenix summoned by Ivan. If the old headmaster's ridicule of Ivan's bloodline was a joke before, now he believed it, really believed it. Perhaps Ivan's ancestors really had the bloodline of Merlin and the bloodline of the Phoenix at the same time. And he, Ivan Ambrosius, was the perfect product of the combination of these two families. A magical miracle. Ambrosius. Voldemort was extremely shocked because he actually saw the shadow of Dumbledore in Ivan. It seemed that the person standing in front of him was not a little wizard, but Dumbledore in his youth. The man he admired all his life, but who made him live in the shadow all his life. Ivan controlled the Fiendfire Phoenix, letting it continuously devour Voldemort's flames, and then in turn, suppressing it. Suddenly, Ivan felt Voldemort's control over Fiendfire was much looser. Before he could figure out the reason, a green beam of light had already penetrated the blazing Fiendfire and rushed towards Ivan. Avada Kedavra! Shit! Ivan thought to himself that Voldemort was really FG insidious. Fortunately, his thinking attribute was high enough, so he had no problem doing 3 things at once. "You are really despicable. You have no nose." Ivan raised his empty left hand slightly, and a piece of broken rock not far from 747 was moved in front of him, successfully resisting Voldemort's killing curse. Boom! However, before Ivan looked at Voldemort, another killing curse burst out. Ivan wanted to continue defending, but the powerful inspiration did not give any warning. "What's going on?" Ivan took a look and instantly determined the landing point of the killing curse. Voldemort missed, and the killing curse could not hit Ivan at all. Hiss, 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 the basilisk's shrill wail sounded behind him, and Ivan turned his head suddenly, only to see that the basilisk that he had locked with ice was emitting green flames all over its body. These flames were like the scythe of the god of death, constantly harvesting the vitality of the basilisk. "What are you doing?" Ivan looked puzzled. He didn't understand. Why did Voldemort kill his pet? The next moment, wisps of invisible life energy floated out of the basilisk, and they flowed into the crown on Voldemort's head, constantly nourishing his body and soul. Boom! Ivan didn't understand Voldemort's purpose. Ravenclaw's crown is a Horcrux, and if the soul in the Horcrux wants to be reborn, it needs to devour enough vitality. The basilisk has lived for 1,000 years, and it is easy to imagine how strong its vitality is. Ivan did not hesitate and controlled the fiery phoenix to release a blazing flame, interrupting Voldemort's devouring of vitality. Damn it! Voldemort didn't expect Ivan to be able to detect his plan. If it could be delayed a little longer, Voldemort could use the vitality of the basilisk to temporarily recover to his prime. Although this state cannot be maintained for too long, it is enough to take down Ivan. Unfortunately, Ivan has a magic eye, so Voldemort didn't get too much supplement. Hello. Voldemort raised his wand and created a barrier to block the destruction of the house. He did not fight with Ivan for the control of Fiendfire. With the god of fire paving the way and the phoenix blood of the Dumbledore family, there's probably no one in the entire wizarding world who can control fire. All curses are over. It was obviously the Fiendfire he summoned, but now it has become a means of attacking him. Voldemort was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot. "You lost him." Ivan commanded the phoenix to suppress it with one hand and waved his other hand gently, and the shadowless blade cut through the space. Puff! Voldemort only felt a sharp pain in his chest, and his body trembled slightly, and he already knew what had happened just now. He lost. Shadowless Blade is a spell invented by Snape. Chapter 76. There's a legend about the Dumbledore family. Thinking of his defeat to a little wizard, Voldemort roared heartbreakingly, "I want you dead, Ambrosius!" Crash in Ivan's surprised eyes. Voldemort's body shattered and dissipated like ashes. Instead, there was a dark shadow that seemed to exist and not exist. What is this? Ivan hurriedly used his magic eyes and spiritual vision to observe, but all he could see were countless black particles. Ivan had only seen this feeling in one thing: soul. Ivan hurriedly controlled the fierce fire to defend himself, but Voldemort's residual soul seemed to ignore the flames and rushed straight towards him. What's going on? This scene was really beyond Ivan's expectations. He never thought that Voldemort had such a method. Ambrose, the remaining soul of Voldemort, screamed shrilly. It was very fast. In an instant, it had crossed the distance of 20 meters and stretched its claws towards Ivan's neck. Expecto Patronus. At this critical moment, Dumbledore's figure blocked Ivan. The old headmaster raised his wand, and the silver-white light flowed out from the tip of the wand like a stream of water. In an instant, it turned into an exquisite phoenix, blocking Voldemort's shadow. Dumbledore. Voldemort obviously recognized Dumbledore. He roared and roared, but he could not move forward. Boom! The black mist as dark as ink surged out of Ivan's body, silently sensing the danger of the host, and began to protect the master at this time. The remaining soul of Voldemort flew backwards in a hurry. It stopped in midair, glared at Ivan and Dumbledore hatefully, and then slowly dissipated in the flames. Complete achievement. Defeat the Archmage. Unique. Defeat the Archmage requirement. Only once. Defeat an Archmage in a one-on-one duel. Achievement reward. One potential. What is that? Ivan ignored the sudden system prompt. He suppressed his violent magic and took the Obscurus back into his body. An extremely evil black magic. Dumbledore cast all spells to subdue the fiend fire, while explaining to Ivan, Tom's residual soul is attached to Quirrell, relying on stealing the lives of others to survive. Tom knew that he could not last long, so he consumed all his vitality. A pure soul cannot cast magic, but the vitality stolen by the Horcrux gave Voldemort the ability to attack in the residual soul state. In this state, most magic is ineffective against it. Only magic containing strong positive emotions can fight against it. Then why can't Fiendfire attack him? Because of the Horcrux. Voldemort's ghost is immune to Fiendfire, not because Fiendfire is of the same origin as him, but because he has the support of the Horcrux. If it is an ordinary soul, it will be burned to ashes in a few minutes when it encounters Fiendfire. Burned to ashes, does it mean that the soul is scattered? Not so. Dumbledore shook his head hurriedly and said, Fiendfire just forcibly sent the soul to another world so that it could not remain. The Horcrux is like an anchor point, hooking Voldemort's soul and preventing it from returning to death. So that's it, Ivan understood. Without destroying the Horcrux, we can't completely kill Voldemort. Then why is the Patronus Charm? The Patronus Charm is the oldest and most powerful defensive spell for wizards. It can not only drive away the bats and dementors, but also has the functions of long-distance communication and reconnaissance. In addition, a complete Patronus can resist all magic composed of negative emotions. The negative emotions here do not include anger, destructive desires, etc., but refer to hurt, fear, loneliness, etc. You mean that Voldemort's state just now is equivalent to killing 1,000 enemies and injuring 800 of himself. The pain of merging one soul with a large amount of negative emotions can be imagined. And according to Dumbledore, although the Fiendfire cannot destroy Voldemort's residual soul, he still needs to endure the pain of the Fiendfire burning his body. Is there no way to seal Voldemort's residual soul? Indeed, there is no way. Dumbledore was also very troubled. The Horcrux is the root, and Voldemort's wandering soul is more like a wisp of consciousness. The relationship here is very complicated. Some people may think that the residual soul is Voldemort's self, and sealing it is equivalent to sealing all Horcruxes. However, this is just like the shortest straight line between 2 points. The shortest straight line is limited to two-dimensional planes, but if it is three-dimensional or four-dimensional, then this common sense does not apply. Similarly, the relationship between Voldemort's main soul and Horcrux is the same. So, Professor, are you sure that the secret of Voldemort's immortality is the Horcrux? If I'm not mistaken, Dumbledore stepped forward and floated the fallen Ravenclaw's crown into the air. Yes, this is a Horcrux. It was not destroyed by fiend fire. Fiend fire can destroy Horcruxes? Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, but soon he understood Voldemort's little trick. In history, there were not many wizards who successfully made Horcruxes, and their Horcruxes were hidden tightly, and there was almost no record of anyone's Horcruxes being destroyed. Therefore, even Blidmore didn't know how to destroy the Horcruxes. Cunning Tom. Before leaving, Voldemort threw Ravenclaw's crown into the fiend fire. However, the fact is that there was no fiend fire in that area. He wanted to use this method to confuse the two people, so that they subconsciously thought that Ravenclaw's crown picked up from the fiend fire would definitely not be afraid of the burning of the fiend fire. Unfortunately, Ivan had read the original book and knew that Horcruxes could be destroyed by house fire. What is this? Ivan looked at the crown carefully and asked knowingly. Don't you already know? Ivan smiled. He was not embarrassed by being exposed and said bluntly, well, this is Ravenclaw's crown, which was stolen by Ravenclaw's daughter and finally left in the forest of Albania. I guess that the reason why Professor Quirrell went there is probably because he knew the clues about the crown. Unfortunately, he met Voldemort. Alas, one Dumbledore actually felt very sorry for Quirrell's experience. In addition, Ivan felt speechless about Voldemort's wasteful behavior. Ravenclaw's crown, the treasure of the four giants. This should have belonged to the inheritance of Hogwarts. Ivan said, it's a pity to destroy it directly. Look at Voldemort wearing the crown. Even the strategy can be used. It can be seen that this thing does have a certain increase in people's thinking. You can try, Ivan. What? Ivan didn't expect Dumbledore to say that. He waved his hands and said, no, 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 I dare not wear it on my head. Oh, sorry, that's not what I meant. Dumbledore smiled and said, I mean, maybe you can purify the evil souls in the crown without damaging it. Purify? Ivan was puzzled and said, how should I do it? There's a legend in our Dumbledore family that when any family member needs help, the Phoenix will come. Dumbledore's words made Ivan speechless. Sorry, Professor, Ivan interrupted. I think you should say me, not us. Dumbledore and Ivan looked at each other silently for a while, and then continued. My nephew Aurelius was once blessed by the Phoenix. Ignore? Selective deafness? Ivan didn't know how to complain. However, in the old headmaster's view, it was a foregone conclusion that Ivan had the blood of the Phoenix family, even if his last name was not Dumbledore. But the Phoenix bloodline has a long history, and now no one can tell its specific purpose. Maybe Ivan's ancestors are from the same family as old Dumbledore's ancestors. Now, I think it's time. What? Ivan saw Dumbledore looking at his sycamore wand, and he knew that the spirit of the Phoenix was sleeping in it. But it is not easy to awaken it, and it takes time. Fox. Dumbledore smiled slightly, and he summoned his own Phoenix. Fox and Dumbledore's mind was connected. He hovered around Ivan, and a large amount of golden red magic power like flames poured out of his body. Boom! The next moment, the Wuton wand once again bloomed with red gold lines. But this time, the lines, the nuages, did not cool down quickly, but became brighter and brighter until the whole wand was on fire. Ivan did not let go of the wand. It burned, but it did not give him any pain. On the contrary, Ivan felt very warm. The magic power in his body resonated with the magic power of the Wuton wand, until a brand new heartbeat revived in Ivan's heart. Bang, bang, bang. The heartbeat echoed, and the Wuton wand in Ivan's hand seemed to have attracted something and slowly rose in the firelight. Then, the flame turned into a shining sun, and a life grew and grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. But it was not enough. Ivan could feel the phoenix spirit's desire for vitality. However, where would Ivan go to get her vitality? Ivan was huge. Dumbledore saw Ivan's urgency and said, "Now is the time to use it." Ivan immediately thought of the Philosopher's Stone that Dumbledore gave him for safekeeping. And the moment Ivan took out the Philosopher's Stone, the red crystals burst into a dazzling red light. The Philosopher's Stone began to break, and part of it flowed into Ivan's wand like melting. Dex, the pleasant sound of the phoenix, like fairy music, dispelled the coldness in the basement, and the colorful bird grabbed the Wutone wand and descended in front of Ivan. Chapter 77. The Resurrection of the Phoenix. What a beautiful creature. Dumbledore sighed. He compared Ivan's phoenix with his own Fawkes. The difference between the two was visible to the naked eye. Although Fawkes was equally beautiful, his divine brilliance was restrained and the overall look was dull. In contrast, Ivan's phoenix seemed to have been filtered. Not only that, Dumbledore also noticed the patterns on the phoenix. The head had virtue, the wings had righteousness, the back had courtesy, the chest had benevolence, and the belly had faith. Benevolence, righteousness, courtesy, wisdom, and faith are the 5 virtues of the bird. Ivan didn't recognize these 5 patterns because they were very different from the Chinese characters in his memory. Rather than saying that these patterns are the 5 virtues, it is better to say that they are 5 kinds of magic runes from the East. The runes contain unparalleled pure magic, as if they could dispel darkness and soothe all pain and sorrow. Ivan caught the falling Philosopher's Stone and found that it had lost nearly a quarter of it in the resurrection ceremony just now. He wanted to return the Philosopher's Stone to Dumbledore, but the latter didn't seem to want to take it back. Helplessly, Ivan had to put the Philosopher's Stone back into his pocket. Since Dumbledore himself didn't want it, Ivan could only accept it with tears and smile. There is no way. The Philosopher's Stone is too fragrant. Originally, Ivan didn't know the use of the Philosopher's Stone, but the scene just now made him realize the power of the Philosopher's Stone thoroughly. This thing, maybe it's really like as Voldemort believed, it has the power to resurrect from the dead. Of course, the premise is that the other party is not really dead. The Phoenix can be resurrected because she has immortal life. As for Voldemort, the Horcrux protected him. What is the meaning of these patterns? Ivan said, "It looks like ancient Chinese." "This is the rune of virtue," Dumbledore explained. "The Gillen 710 Ministry of Magic once invited me, and there I learned this ancient rune. Oriental wizards call it virtue. There are 5 kinds of virtue, namely benevolence, righteousness, courtesy, wisdom, and trustworthiness, each corresponding to a very profound spiritual power. In the East, wizards believe that virtue is a symbol of beauty, and they use it to drive away evil forces. This is similar to the magic Ivan learned at Hogwarts. The old headmaster told Ivan that the mind is the most powerful weapon of wizards, and will is the solid barrier used by wizards to protect themselves. The two are 1 attack and 1 defense, and they are inseparable. So, Ivan stroked his own 5-colored divine phoenix, and through the spiritual connection, Ivan knew her gender. This is a phoenix that is a female phoenix. In addition, the divine phoenix is not the same as the one that fell in the sycamore tree. The relationship between the two is more like mother and daughter. Fawkes's heart fire draws out the soul of the divine phoenix. Then the body is reshaped by the magic stone. Ivan held her in his arms and was about to stroke her well, but he saw the divine phoenix turned into a ball of fire and drilled into his body. Ivan raised his head in surprise. "What's going on?" "Magical ability," Dumbledore said. "She seems to be able to live in your body in the form of magic, just like Obscurus?" Ivan sensed the changes in his body, and he was a little worried that the phoenix would fight Obscurus. Fortunately, Ivan's worries were unnecessary. The phoenix lives in Ivan's flesh and blood, and Obscurus's host is his magic. The two are clearly separated, and neither of them hinders the other. It's okay. Don't fight with each other." Ivan was really afraid that the two would treat his body as a battlefield and accidentally blow him up. "Don't worry, she won't hurt you." Dumbledore was not surprised that Ivan's phoenix was so dazzling. It is better to say that the phoenix of the Phoenix family should have been like this. It was just because of cultural integration that it eventually became Fawkes's appearance. Theoretically, if Dumbledore's Phoenix bloodline could return to its ancestral home, Fawkes would evolve again and become the real Phoenix. There is no difference between the seven-colored Phoenix and the Phoenix. The two belong to the same level of existence. Ivan found that the way old Dumbledore looked at him was getting more and more wrong. He asked tentatively, "So, should I change my name?" Dumbledore. Ivan Dumbledore? Oh, that's great." The old headmaster seemed to have discovered something interesting. He smiled like a daisy and looked at Ivan with a look of doting. Ahem. Ivan waved his hands repeatedly. Forget it. Really not considering it. Dumbledore didn't mind at all. He could even declare that Ivan was his grandson or great-grandson. No one would investigate anyway, with the Phoenix accompanying him. The evidence is irrefutable. What's more, the Dumbledore family is now without successors. Dumbledore thinks his brother probably won't mind handing over the family inheritance to Ivan. In fact, the Dumbledore family's wealth is still very substantial. Not to mention others, Dumbledore himself has a huge fortune, not to mention the Dumbledore family's accumulation over the past 1,000 years. To be honest, Ivan was really tempted. Fortunately, Ivan's will was strong enough to resist the temptation of the old bee. Let's talk about the Horcrux. Ivan made the Phoenix reappear, and the beautiful little guy made a singing Phoenix cry. And even the crown of Ravenclaw, which was originally floating in the air, was trembling faintly. Seeing this, Ivan asked hurriedly, could it be that the power of the Phoenix can purify the curse on the crown? This is the difference between the Phoenix and the Phoenix. The Phoenix specializes in matter, while the Phoenix is the master of mind and will. Although Voldemort's Horcrux is powerful, the flame of the Phoenix can completely purify it without hurting the crown. Go! Ivan did not hesitate, and the Phoenix took action directly. And just as old Dumbledore said, the flame of the Phoenix fell on the crown. The appearance of the crown did not change. Only wisps of CHCC, black smoke, accompanied by Voldemort's painful wailing, kept echoing in the ears of the two. Ivan did not stop the Phoenix from purifying the crown, but burned it for 3 minutes until the magic I could no longer see the foul smell in the crown, and then took it back into his body. Is this all right? Ivan carefully observed the crown, and Dumbledore was confident, so he grabbed the crown with his bare hands. Headmaster, don't worry, it's no longer Voldemort's Horcrux. Dumbledore asked Ivan if he wanted to take the crown for research. The old headmaster treated Ivan like a grandfather treated his grandson, and his preference for him at any time and place could not be concealed at all. Forget it. Ivan didn't want to wear Voldemort's Horcrux on his head. Even if the crown could really give people wisdom, Ivan would rather not have this kind of disgust. Seeing this, Dumbledore could only take back the crown. He planned to put it in the headmaster's office as a relic of the founder of the new school of Hogwarts, passed down from generation to generation. Restore it as before. Restore it as before. In the following time, Ivan and Dumbledore cast a repair spell together to restore the Chamber of Secrets that had become dilapidated due to the battle between the two. During this period, the two needed to deal with the curse left by the Fiendfire. This power is very difficult to deal with and requires a lot of energy. It is far more difficult than the damage caused by ordinary physics and magic. Fortunately, the two are not ordinary people. The magic power of the Archmage level is enough to reverse the damage caused by the Fiendfire. A quarter of an hour later, Dumbledore took Ivan out of the Chamber of Secrets. They did not return along the original route, but with the help of Fawkes, they appeared in the headmaster's office through a special apparition. This magic, Ivan had seen it in the original book, and he said, Hogwarts cannot apparate, but it can only restrict wizards, not creatures outside. Yes, Dumbledore did not hide it, and directly handed the apparition with the Phoenix flame to Ivan. This apparition itself is initiated by the Phoenix, and Dumbledore only needs to follow. Therefore, It will not cause the physical separation of the wizard's apparition, and it is very safe. Just like flu powder, right? Ivan studied it carefully for a while and soon found the benefits of this apparition. First of all, apparition is a general term for teleportation with a different space as an anchor point. In essence, the principles of apparition of different races are actually very different. Just like the Zowu in Fantastic Beasts, it can open a spiral storm-like space wormhole while running, so as to cross millions of miles. Therefore, if you want to limit the apparition, you must set up different anti-apparition spells. Can only one anti-spell be set up in one area? Multiple anti-spells require a high level of magical attainments, and you also need to be familiar with that kind of magic. This superposition of anti-apparition is like a blockade of space. However, it is already difficult to block space with one level, let alone double or triple blockades. Not to mention that wizards cannot perform the apparition of house elves. Moreover, wizards will not have nothing to do after eating a full meal, so they will prepare for the invasion of magical creatures such as Zowu and Phoenix in advance. I can't wait. Apparition, this is space magic, one of the magics that Ivan is most eager to learn. But Dumbledore thinks Ivan is too young, so he didn't let him try it rashly. But now, with the Phoenix helping him open the door, Ivan just needs to walk in. Ahem. Dumbledore said that he should not be too ambitious and try it in the principal's office first. Ivan accepted it with pleasure. So, in this small headmaster's office, accompanied by clusters of fireworks, the figures of Fan and Shun Huang kept flashing. Puff! Sparks flew everywhere, and Ivan and Shun Huang appeared at the door, one above and one below. Then there was another apparition, and the two appeared in front of Dumbledore. The flames almost burned Dumbledore's beard. Ha ha! Ivan looked at Dumbledore's resentful eyes when he was adjusting his beard and couldn't help laughing. Ivan called this kind of apparition Flash Flame. Flash Flame is not more convenient than apparition, but it is omnipotent. No one in the world can set up the counterspell of Flash Flame except Dumbledore. This is a life-saving card. Ivan would not use this magic easily, but like Dumbledore, he escaped from the restraints at the critical moment. Dumbledore's suggestion was very good, and Guo Fan felt it necessary to come down. Chapter 78, Attribute Enhancement. After leaving the headmaster's office, Ivan went straight back to the Gryffindor common room. Voldemort was dead, and the professors could relax a little. Dumbledore would use the Patronus to notify the other 3 colleges, and Ivan would explain to McGonagall. As soon as he entered the Gryffindor dormitory, Ivan saw a group of young wizards gathered here. When they saw Ivan coming back, they surrounded him and asked, "Harry said you fought with the mysterious man and defeated him?" The mysterious man died a long time ago, and he was just a dark wizard pretending to be him. Are you right, Ivan? Hearing everyone's discussion, Ivan immediately understood what happened. Harry witnessed the battle in the Forbidden Forest, and after returning, he told the Gryffindor students that Ivan had driven Voldemort away. However, everyone did not believe that Voldemort was still alive. They prefer to believe that it was just a dark wizard pretending to be Voldemort. Harry. Ivan saw Harry, who was hesitant to speak in the crowd, and gave him a look, then explained, "Yes, that's just an imposter. We all know that person died 10 years ago." As soon as these words came out, the little wizards in Gryffindor were relieved. Seeing this, Ivan shook his head helplessly. The British wizarding world has long been frightened by Voldemort. Imagine if Ivan really said that it was the Dark Lord. How terrified would the little wizards be to hear that Voldemort is still alive? And how can their parents feel at ease to send their children to Hogwarts? After all, Harry still didn't understand the direction of the wizarding world. He looked at Voldemort with the fixed mindset of muggles, and Ivan had already foreseen what his reputation would become among the little lions of Gryffindor. Ivan, don't worry, Professor. Ivan gave McGonagall a reassuring look and then announced, "Don't be afraid. Just now, Principal Dumbledore has found the hiding dark wizard. I saw it with my own eyes. The principal caught him." 14. Sure enough, this is what the little wizards want to hear. "Okay, everyone go back to sleep," Professor McGonagall said, and drove them back to their respective dormitories. She didn't ask any more questions. Anyway, Dumbledore is still there, and Professor Cat can go to the old principal at any time. In Ivan's dormitory, Neville, Hermione, Harry, and Parvati gathered. Neville served tea and snacks to everyone, and Hermione and Parvati secretly clenched their fists, wanting to hear the truth from Ivan. Harry, Ivan, how is Ronald? They handed Ronald to Madame Pomfrey, and now he has drunk the tranquilizer and fallen asleep. Too many things happened tonight, and Harry has been worried about his good friend. Ivan stopped asking after hearing that Ronald was fine. So is he really a fake? Harry asked quietly, and he had realized the inappropriateness of his previous behavior. I think he is. It's him. After Ivan finished speaking, the teacup in Neville's hand slipped directly. Fortunately, Ivan was prepared and caught it with a floating spell, and then put it back with Neville's apologies. Don't worry too much. Ivan saw the two little witches turn pale, and thought to himself that Voldemort was really no different from a ghost story in the wizarding world. Just like Westerners can understand Eastern horror elements, such as wedding dresses and candles, Ivan also can't get the horror of Voldemort. There's one thing Harry is not wrong. Ivan's eyes swept over the four people and smiled. I defeated him. Gee, at this time, the phoenix flew out of Ivan's body. The red gold flames fell, but did not burn anything in the room. It dispelled the fear in the hearts of the four people and brought them endless warmth. What is this? The little wizards had never seen a phoenix, and Hermione was attracted by her beautiful figure. Feng Huang. She can come out? Yes. Ivan asked the phoenix to stop aside, and Yumi jumped up and meowed to make friends with her. Thanks to the help of the principal, she woke up from her deep sleep. Ivan briefly explained the origin of the phoenix. The little wizards had long been accustomed to his extraordinariness and were not surprised. Ivan, did you really defeat the mysterious man? He was seriously injured, Voldemort. Ivan knew what his victory meant to Neville. If it was him in his prime, I might not win. But we are still young, aren't we? Believe me, Ivan, sooner or later, I will have a real fight with him and send him to hell. Thank you, Ivan, thank you. Neville's parents were tortured crazy by the Death Eaters and are still lying in St. Go's hospital. When it comes to hatred for the Death Eaters and Voldemort, Neville is the one who wants to kill them the most. Ivan, you are so awesome. Parvati looked at Ivan with admiration, as if she was treating him as a hero in a storybook. Hermione said disdainfully, Did you know Ivan was awesome on the first day? For some reason, the little witches started their daily quarrel. Ivan and the other two couldn't get involved, so they had to step aside to avoid being hurt. Soon after, Ivan sent the three away, and Neville went to bed. The phoenix returned to its master's body, and Yumi also went into his cat house, yawning and curled up. Until then, Ivan had the opportunity to check his new ability. System, open the attribute panel. Ivan Ambrosius, age, 11 years old, race, wizard gender, male bloodline, eternal descendant, Phoenix family talent, Transfiguration Magus, Prophecy Magus, Silent One, Phoenix Spirit, attributes, 1 ordinary, 2 excellent, 3 outstanding, 4 rare, 5 legendary, 6 apocalypse, 7 miracle, soul, 5 legendary, magic, 5 legendary, physique, 1 ordinary, thinking, 3 outstanding, mind, 2+1 outstanding, will, 2+1 outstanding, current potential points. 1. There's one more bloodline. And the previous Ambrosius has also become the eternal descendant. Suddenly, Ivan noticed the attributes of mind and will, and found that they changed from the original 2 to 2+1. What's going on? Ivan checked carefully and finally focused on the newly appeared talent Phoenix Spirit. The next moment, a piece of information emerged in Ivan's mind. Phoenix Spirit. Introduction. You can summon a phoenix as a partner, and she will give you special protection effect. Mind attribute +1. Will attribute +1 note. This effect is only applicable to legendary and below, in other words, if Ivan's mind attribute reaches 5 points. The blessing of the phoenix cannot allow it to break through to 6 points. It's already very good, equivalent to saving 2 potential points. Although I don't know what other uses potential points have besides increasing attributes. So far, Ivan has only got 2 potential points. So when it's time to save, you still have to save some. In addition, the role of mind and will. Ivan is following. Ivan experienced this when he fought Voldemort. 3 points of willpower made Ivan's control of the Fiendfire more handy. As for the mind, it greatly increased the power of Ivan's spells. Ivan had a hunch that if he could fully integrate 3 points of mind power into magic, he could increase the power of the spell several times. For example, Ivan's original blasting spell, which was cast with all his strength, could blow up the top of the hill. Now that the mind has increased from 2 points to 3 points, the entire hill may be flattened by Ivan's magic bullet. This is the power of the mind, which greatly increases the power of the spell. Of course, the power of the spell and the quality of the magic power when fighting waves are two concepts. The former is more about the increase in range and effect. BB. Ivan looked up and down at his attributes. How should I add points next? The soul and magic power have reached legendary, and potential points are no longer applicable. Experience points are needed. Unfortunately, Ivan didn't know where to get experience points. The remaining 3 attributes of mind, will, and thinking are all 3 points. According to Ivan's original plan, he would definitely choose to add points to these 3 attributes. But this time, Ivan didn't plan to do so. Although the mind is very powerful, Ivan has not yet fully developed even the 3-point attribute. If it can't be realized in a short time, it will not make much sense. So, Ivan looked at his physical attribute. The physical attribute is only 1. Normally speaking, it seems meaningless to increase the 1-point physical attribute by 1 point. However, Ivan plans to give it a try. Ivan has almost figured out the functions of the other 5 attributes, but he still hasn't figured out the mechanism of the physical attribute. The mind and will have saved 2 potential points, so even if 1 point is wasted here, it won't hurt. Of course, there is no such thing as wasting attributes. They will be added anyway. It's just a matter of time. System, add points. Thinking of this, Ivan directly clicked on the physique. After adding points, Ivan first observed the panel for a while and saw that there was no increase. Then he lay on the bed and then carefully felt the changes in himself. I don't feel anything. Ivan frowned slightly. He didn't feel that his body was strengthened. It seems that he didn't have sharp ears and eyes. Just when Ivan was confused, a voice as thin as a mosquito whispered in his ear. Yumi is so hungry, I want to eat dried fish, meow. Ivan was stunned for a moment. He seemed to hear Lumi and the Little Fish King. What's going on? Before he could react, another vague memory fragment flooded into Ivan's mind. In the snow-white ward, a man and a woman were lying quietly on the bed. The boy was holding his grandmother's hand with tears in his eyes. However, the picture soon turned into smoke. When the picture became clear again, Ivan saw himself waving his magic wand and knocking a dark, unclear figure to the ground. Ivan turned his head and looked at Neville, who had fallen asleep. Is Neville's sleep quality really that good? It was only 5 or 6 minutes after the lights were turned off, and he fell asleep. And Yumi. Sure enough, Ivan saw Yumi crawling out of the cat house, taking light and silent steps, and digging out the hidden dried fish. Is this legilimency? Legislatives is a magic similar to mind reading, but the ability Ivan just showed is far more magical than legilimency. If Yumi's voice belongs to mind reading, then what about Neville? He is dreaming. Ivan could actually see his dream. It was so clear. Ivan Ambrosius, age, 11 years old, race, wizard gender, male bloodline, eternal descendant, phoenix family talents, transfiguration magus, prophecy magus, silent one, phoenix spirit, psychic master, psychic master. Opening the panel, in the talent column, new prompts gradually emerged in the empty space. Psychic master, also known as psychic master. This ability can be acquired through acquired learning, but in Ivan's case, it is obvious that he awakened on his own. So, improving the physical attribute can activate new magical talents. This thought only existed for a moment before Ivan denied it. No, it shouldn't be that simple. The physical attribute may not be the physical attribute I know at all. Ivan thinks that the physical attribute should refer to magical life, that is, letting magic power merge into the wizard's body. I I remember Ollivander said that the difference between wizards and magical creatures is that wizards are still human beings, while the flesh and blood of magical creatures contain magic power. Thinking of this, Ivan stood up and walked towards a closet, and then entered the secret realm again. He was not far from the exit, but near here, and began to try to cast spells without a wand. Armor protection, all protection, ultimate protection. Ivan did not use the Wutong magic wand for the 3 defensive spells, and as a result, the armor protection was successful, and the ultimate protection was motionless. As for the all protection, Ivan could feel that he had already pried open the spell, but because the magic power was not smooth enough, it failed. I really did it. Although 2 magics failed, Ivan was still very happy. The physical attribute can make my body magical. Ivan had always thought that he was able to master the skill of wandless casting because his magic power was strong enough. However, this was not the case. 1 point of physique may seem rare, but it is actually this 1 point of attribute that makes Ivan's flesh and blood have a certain degree of fit with magic power. Now, when the physique attribute is increased to 2 points, Ivan clearly feels the smoothness of magic power release. If I continue to add points to physique, my body can be used as a carrier of magic power to cast magic. At that time, Ivan's 10 fingers can be his magic wand. At 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, I will completely get rid of the constraints of the magic wand and become a real master. The existence of the magic wand has always been regarded by Ivan as his weakness. Without the magic wand, his ability to cast spells will be greatly reduced. Although the Wutong magic wand is excellent, there is no magic medium in the world that is more compatible with one's own flesh and blood. However, Ivan does not intend to abandon the Wutong magic wand in the future. In Ivan's concept, the magic wand and the staff should not be a medium, but a prop for amplification. Therefore, he will try his best to transform his magic wand from a pure magic medium to a magic amplifier with medium function, as small as the old magic wand. Chapter 79. The Incarnation of Magic, the beginning of the ascension to godhood. Are there any other changes? Wandless spellcasting is indeed important, but it is more for precaution. The real reason why Ivan added some physical fitness is to solve the sword of Obscurus hanging over his head. Thinking so, Ivan began to transform Obscurus. Suddenly, Ivan noticed a change different from the past. He stopped the transformation and frowned. Something is different. This change is difficult to describe in words. If the feeling brought to Ivan by the previous incarnation of Obscurus was a violent force surging in his body, and then the whole person seemed to be integrated into the cold lake water. Now, Ivan found a little warmth in this cold water. Yes, it is warmth. Like a lighthouse in the dark, a bonfire at night gives the world the only light. What's going on? Ivan was a little confused, but more of a delight, because he found a way to solve Obscurus, that is, to add some physical fitness. Ivan had thought about it before. Why would the Obscurus, a parasitic life, harm the wizard who was hosting it? Now, Ivan understood. The wizard's body was like an ecosystem for the Obscurus. Only when the environment was suitable could the Obscurus survive. Otherwise, the Obscurus would leave the host. Once the Obscurus completely left the wizard, their vitality would also be taken away by the Obscurus. The improvement of physical attributes will allow the magic power to transform my body into soil suitable for the life of the Obscurus. Not only that, I seem to be able to control the degree of Obscurus transformation. Ivan temporarily put aside this joy, raised his hand, and tried to 730 to reduce the absorption of the power of the Obscurus. Less. Ivan's palm turned into black particles, but he knew that there was no limit. Before, Ivan asked himself if he could do such fine control. This was thanks to the improvement of will brought about by the revival of the Phoenix. The role of will is, first, to better control magic power, and second, to resist the side effects of magic. This resistance is not only the wizard's own magic power out of control. Even curses from the outside world, such as the Imperius Curse and the Cruciatus Curse, can be effectively protected. Of course, the Killing Curse is an exception. The Big Melon is a rule-based spell, and it can only be cast successfully or fail. Thinking about this, Ivan even had a cold sweat on his forehead because of controlling the Obscurus. Fortunately, Ivan successfully found the only warmth in the cold lake. It was also at this time that Ivan's palm returned to its original state. Instead, there were wisps of rising white mist. What is this? Ivan was stunned for a moment. He carefully felt the white smoke and felt that it was extremely light. It seemed invisible and intangible, but it really existed. The most important thing is that Ivan can feel unprecedented peaceful magic from this white mist. It is different from the black of the Obscurus. It is a more positive power that is completely controlled by Ivan. Ivan looked at the floating white smoke, and he could feel the dependence of this magic on himself. It was like a child acting like a spoiled child to his parents, longing for their love. This white smoke is the same thing as MOMO-RAN, but it seems to be more compatible. From the perspective of the magic eye, Ivan turned his hands into white smoke and black mist respectively. The magic in the white smoke is like clean water, while the black mist is very turbid and full of all kinds of negative emotions. The most important thing is that Ivan has never seen such primitive magic as white smoke. Yes, primitive. No, it should be said to be pure. Ivan feels that the composition of white smoke is very close to magic. The magic here is not the power of wizards, but a concept similar to the Tao of this world. That is, the source of magic, the most basic unit. White smoke is like the product of basic magic after it first came to the material world. If we use numbers as an analogy, magic is something that does not exist in the material world. It can be counted as. And white smoke is the one that was born after the zero was separated from the material world. Tau begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, and 3 begets all things. With this thought, Ivan began to manipulate the few wisps of white smoke that looked like the result of a cigarette being lit. Boom! The next moment, the white smoke began to burn and became a red flame. But it wasn't over yet. Next, the flame turned into water, which condensed into ice and then shattered into transparent wisps of breeze. Finally, a large amount of soil fell from the breeze and soon formed a small mound at Ivan's feet. Earth, water, wind, and fire. The 4 basic elements. Ivan was extremely excited, and he suppressed his surging emotions. Just as I thought, this white smoke is the embodiment of pure magic in the material world. In fact, Obscurus can also be the magic of one. It's just that it is too chaotic and violent, and it is impossible to complete the task of evolving all things. Obscura is a magical creature, and the Obscura can merge with Obscura. Ivan, the flesh and blood of matter becomes the black mist of energy, and Obscura is also a magical creature. There is no doubt that this has touched the realm of magical transformation. Ivan. Even Animagus can only transform himself into an animal without magic, but the Obscurus skipped all of this. As for these white mists, it is not so much another thing as the product of the Obscurus's piece. Unfortunately, the small mound only lasted for a while before disappearing. It can be seen that this is not a permanent deformation, but still at the level of general deformation. But Ivan has a hunch. The reason why he can't do permanent deformation is because he doesn't have enough control over the white smoke. Perhaps if he continues to dig deeper, sooner or later, he will be able to use this white smoke to create real matter. The proportion of white smoke is probably only 1/1000th of all Obscurus. Ivan roughly estimated the ratio of white to black, and the gap between the two is really huge. But this is not bad. 1/1000th. It should also show that the potential of Obscurus is huge. No, Ivan suddenly found that he seemed to have gone in the wrong direction. I could merge with Obscurus before and transform into a black storm. What about now? Thinking of this, Ivan immediately divided his mind. He used a lot of energy to suppress MOMO-RAN, and the extra energy was used to control the white smoke, preparing to merge with it. Then a magical scene happened. The white smoke spread from Ivan's palm and soon covered the surface of Ivan's skin. At this moment, white mist was floating around Ivan's body, and even his hair changed from the original golden color to silver. Wisps of white mist rose from Ivan's shoulders, waist, abdomen, and knees. Most importantly, Ivan discovered that the white gas did not come from his body, but was completely transformed from his skin. Skin turned into pure magic. Ivan was stunned at first, then took off the one beside him and melted a hole in his skin. Then blood flowed, dripping from Ivan's arm. However, as Ivan's mind moved, the misty white gas appeared on the wound, and in the blink of an eye, the wound had recovered without even a trace of scar left. FK. Ivan's eyes widened, and his mind popped up a power from a comic he had read in his previous life. Isn't this the key transformation in the 3 levels of reverse life? Researching Momo ran, but came up with the 3 levels of reverse life. Ivan's shock at this time can be imagined. My skin has become key, so the wound will be repaired. Thinking of this, Ivan found something wrong. He looked at the blood falling on the flowers at his feet. There is no doubt that this is the blood he just dripped. Is this true? The blood seen in magic does not contain magic, which means that blood is a real thing, not a simple magic deformation. Permanent deformation? Ivan's shock is not without reason. If it is a simple magic transformation, the moment the blood leaves the body, it should turn into magic and dissipate. But the blood is still there. Then the question is, where does the extra flesh and blood in Ivan's body come from? Magic. Ivan noticed this and said in surprise, "White smoke can reshape my flesh and blood, and it is not temporary, but permanent shaping." Not only that, Ivan's body is now integrated with magic. This means that he is no longer a simple mortal, but a magical creature. In this way, Bayan not only achieved permanent deformation, but also magic deformation. If I continue from the skin to the limbs, and then to the internal organs, all the silence will eventually turn into white mist. At that moment, Ivan will become the agent of magic in the world. He is magic. If I can really do it. Ivan couldn't help but think of the word in the comic. This is the way to heaven. Magic is immortal, and the mist is indestructible. Immortal, eternal. I am magic, and my thoughts are magic. When I thought of such a future, Ivan couldn't help but feel excited. Fortunately, the will at 3 o'clock was strong enough, and Ivan quickly suppressed his emotions. It's too early. It's not a good thing to be too ambitious. Ivan can now only make the most superficial tissues of his body magical. Magic incarnation, reverse life state, different paths to the same end. The two are indeed very similar, from the limbs to the internal organs, and finally the whole body is transformed into Ki, achieving complete reverse life. However, Lao's when the comics failed, and the 3rd level could not reach the sky. But Ivan is different. Magic is magic. Ki is ki. Ki is one. But magic is a product that does not belong to this world. This does not mean that innate ki is inferior to magic. Ivan means that even if the whole body is transformed into ki, it is all transformed into innate ki. It is from existence to existence. How much acquired ki you originally cultivated, and how much innate ki you have after the transformation. The two are just changes in state and quality. In contrast, magic power cannot be obtained through acquired training, nor does it need to be trained. Because magic power is created out of nothing, and it is infinite in itself. It is like Ivan has an infinite energy source behind him. As long as he wants, he can even create a mountain, a river, an ocean, and even the whole world. Of course, this is only in theory. As for whether he can reach that level, or even whether the conjecture of the whole body becoming magical is feasible, Ivan still needs to explore it himself. But dreaming, I can't do it in reality. So can I have everything in my dream? The reverse 3 levels itself is just a conjecture, just like Ivan's current magic incarnation, and it depends on him in the end. Ivan did not do any more tests. You must know that too much is as bad as too little. He still has a lot of time, so he is not in a hurry. Go back. Returning to the dormitory, Ivan resealed the wardrobe. In order to prevent someone from accidentally opening it, Ivan not only locked it physically, but also cast an anti-unlocking spell. Time quickly came to the next day. You seem very happy. In the hall, Hermione found that Ivan was in a good mood and was smiling all morning. Is it so obvious? Ivan was indeed very happy. After all, the biggest problem was solved. Is it because of Harry? Ivan was stunned, as if he didn't expect Hermione to say this. No, I'm happy because I found a way to heal my body last night. Healing the body is Hermione quickly reacted. She forced her voice down, but she could still hear the excitement in her tone. Really, 5.6? Great. We don't have to separate. It's great. Yeah. Ivan smiled and nodded, but changed his mind and asked again. You just said Harry? What's wrong with Harry? It happened last night. Hermione, remember, before you came back from Principal Dumbledore, Harry said you defeated that person. Now it's all over Hogwarts. Hermione was very troubled by this. She felt that Ivan should keep a low profile for a while. Of course, we're not dissatisfied with Ivan. It's just that the little witch thinks that Ivan has the strength, and fame is something that can be easily obtained. He should immerse himself now and study hard. This is indeed a trouble. Ivan can accept that he is the leader of Hogwarts, but he doesn't want to fight against the evil forces outside the school so early. It's okay to offend Voldemort. Anyway, now there is no nose to have no strength but power. The real trouble is those pure-blood families, the Ministry of Magic, and the entire British magic world. I will clarify it. Ivan did what he said. He found Harry and talked to him for a few words. Harry is just ignorant, not stupid. He was too excited last night and didn't realize how much turmoil it would bring to the entire city by saying Voldemort's resurrection. They are still young, and a stable development environment is particularly important. To be honest, Ivan even hopes that Voldemort can live longer. It would be best if he could attract the attention of the entire British wizarding world, so that Ivan and his team could run the business well and develop their own team under the cover of the Death Eaters. Chapter 80 Penelope the Troll incident came suddenly and went away quickly. After Dumbledore guaranteed in the name of the headmaster that he had solved the troll and the dark wizard who summoned the troll, life at Hogwarts returned to normal again. The Voldemort that Harry said that night was resurrected, but was defeated by Ivan again. Although there was some commotion at the beginning, everyone thought that Harry had just seen it wrong. It's just a dark wizard. There's no need to make a fuss. Yes, that person has been dead for a long time. Potter must have been scared. For this reason, Harry endured a period of turmoil. But Harry didn't care. He knew the truth of that night. Ivan knew it too, and Hermione, Neville, and Parvati all believed them. With his best friend on his side, Harry would not ignore the sarcasm of others. But Malfoy was indeed a little jumpy. Those most unpleasant words were basically spread by the Drag King. For this reason, in order to reward Harry's patience, Ivan taught him a curse step by step. Big head, no worries when it rains. Others have umbrellas. I have a big head. It's a strange spell, but the effect is very interesting. It can make a person's head expand several times like a balloon. Malfoy is just a child. Ivan can't bring himself to teach him a lesson. But Harry doesn't care. It's only natural for children to beat children. So, Harry took action, and when Malfoy was alone on a dark and windy night, he hit him hard. Ivan still remembers the embarrassed look of Malfoy, who sought help everywhere after his tongue became bigger. However, the evil spell that Ivan improved personally could not be solved by professors who were not proficient in spells in a short time. Dean-level professors such as McGonagall and Flitwick could do it. But after noticing the style of this evil curse, the deans immediately recognized its creator, Ivan. Is this little Ivan's curse? It was little Ivan who did it. The 27 professors had their own tacit understanding, knowing that this was a punishment for Malfoy's holding on to Harry. This evil curse is very rare, and we need some time to find its antidote. Professor McGonagall can solve this evil curse, but why did she do this? She pitted Potter and her favorite student Ivan, and Malfoy, who stood on the opposite side of them. So what's wrong with letting him suffer a little? This time, even Snape didn't do anything. The reason was that Malfoy dared to laugh at Harry's eyes. How could he tolerate this? Anyway, Snape couldn't stand it. So, Malfoy was sent to the school hospital as expected, where he could only receive treatment from Madame Pomfrey. A very hard-to-drink potion can break all evil curses. The only difference is how long it takes. And without Malfoy fanning the flames, Hogwarts finally ushered in complete peace. The incident of the Dark Wizard invading Hogwarts gradually subsided under the deliberate cover-up of the school professors. A new topic replaced this emergency and became the focus of attention of the young wizards. That's right, it was the Quidditch game held in mid-November. In recent days, Harry has been very nervous because he will play as the Seeker of the Gryffindor team. It was the first time to participate in the game, and the opponent was Slytherin. Harry felt that the burden on his shoulders was extremely heavy, and even his favorite syrup fruit pie was left there without a bite. "Relax, Harry." Ivan sat aside, holding a novel about the wizarding world in his hand, reading it with relish. "I do my best." Harry knew that his mentality was not right, but there was nothing he could do. After all, it was the first time for him to show himself in front of so many people. Ivan heard Harry's mental activities clearly. The talent of a telepathist is both a blessing and a curse. In the first few days, Ivan's passive effect of legilimency continued to increase, and even the range changed every day. A large number of sounds kept drilling into Ivan's ears like mosquitoes, making him miserable. Fortunately, legilimency has a special countermeasure, brain occlusion. In order to restore peace to his world, Ivan asked Dumbledore for brain occlusion, and the old headmaster handed him over to Snape. Snape originally wanted to refuse, but Dumbledore's words made him change his mind. "This may be your only chance to teach that kid a lesson." Well, Snape is a vengeful person, and he has not forgotten how Ivan beat him. And in order to protect the secrets in his own mind, Ivan had to put in 12 points of energy to resist Snape's mental invasion. But Ivan's worries were obviously redundant. He has the obscurus in his body. Once any spirit invades his brain, it will be swallowed by this terrible dark force. Now we have to add the Phoenix. The Phoenix of Ivan's family will not allow outsiders to touch Ivan's memory. Therefore, Snape not only failed to take revenge, but was once again pitted by the old bee. During the memory invasion, Snape was abused by the obscurus and the Phoenix. In this way, after a whole night of torture, with a will of up to 3 points, he showed an unparalleled talent in brain occlusion. After only one teaching, Ivan's brain occlusion has been successfully introduced. The next step is to grind hard, and Ivan needs to build defenses in his brain to resist external invasion. "What are you reading?" Harry chose to change the subject. He noticed a book in Ivan's hand. Breaking Up with the Female Ghost. Unlike those magic books that make people feel mysterious at the first sight of the title, this seems to be a biography. It's a novel, and it's well written. Ivan knew who the author of this book was, the liar Gilderoy Lockhart, who was Harry's defense against the dark arts professor in his second year. Of course, it's hard to say whether he is still the same now. Ivan doesn't care about the defense against the dark arts class anyway. He has Dumbledore to tutor him personally. So why does he need a bicycle? As long as Lockhart doesn't provoke him, Ivan won't meddle in other people's business. And Ivan must admit it. This guy is really good at writing novels. Even some boring places are described by him in an interesting way. Talent. Ivan sighed like this. He glanced at Harry and saw that he seemed to be very interested in what he had in his hand. "Want to see it?" "Oh, thank you." Harry didn't refuse. He needed to relax now for the Quidditch match in the afternoon. However, Harry seemed to have a natural rebellion against Lockhart. It was an interesting story, but Harry always felt something was wrong. "What's wrong?" Ivan asked. "Is it not good to read?" "No." Harry frowned slightly. "I don't know what's wrong. I just feel that the content of this book is a little weird." "What's weird?" "I can't explain it clearly." Harry closed the book. "It just feels like it's describing someone else's experience." Just like the police are particularly sensitive to criminals, Harry, who has the talent of an Auror, has an equally sensitive nose. Good eyesight, but it's better not to say this everywhere. Why? Because of the author of this book, Gilderoy Lockhart. He has a large group of fans in the wizarding world. Ivan stood up, patted Harry on the shoulder, and said with a smile, "If we don't want to be beaten to death, we have to keep the truth in our hearts for the time being." Harry didn't understand what Ivan said. What truth? Is there anything wrong with this Lockhart? And after Ivan's interruption, Harry's mood was indeed relaxed a lot. Looking at the fruit pie in front of him, Harry just felt his appetite open. I'm in the mood to eat again. So good. After leaving the hall, Ivan decided to go out for a walk at the Black Lake. During the period, passing by the Gryffindor long table, Ivan saw Hermione whispering with Pava, Lavender, and Padma. The little girls had their own little secrets. When they saw Ivan coming, they just looked up and whispered again. Ivan didn't call Hermione. The little witch also needs her own space. In fact, Ivan was very pleased to see that the little witch could get along so well with her friends. As he was walking, a figure appeared in front of Ivan, and the other party seemed to be waiting for him here. This was a very beautiful girl. Seeing Ivan, she was a little nervous, but she still plucked up the courage to greet him. Hi, Ambrosius. The girl was Penelope, a fifth-year student at Hogwarts and also the head of Ravenclaw. Senior Crivet. Ivan responded politely and then asked, "What's the matter?" "No. Penelope, I want to talk to you." "Okay. Of course." Ivan had a very good impression of Penelope. When the troll rushed over that day, her performance was remarkable even in Ivan's opinion. The two left the castle together and stepped onto the slope to the Black Lake. The breeze of early autumn blew the leaves on both sides, rustling, and Ivan and Penelope walked side by side. The senior is a head taller than Ivan. When they walk together, they look more like a pair of siblings than a couple. "You are really amazing, Rosius. Just call me Ivan, Senior." "Okay, Ivan." Penelope smiled and said, "I have never seen a little wizard as good as you. When I was your age, I had mastered the knowledge in the textbooks." Ivan felt that Penelope was a bit Versailles. In fact, it is already amazing to master the knowledge in the first-year textbooks as soon as you enter school. Everyone says so, but I think Penelope said, "I have fallen behind too much." Backward. "I heard that, Ivan. You are from a Muggle family." "Dell." "Ivan, to be precise, I am an orphan, so it is not wrong to say that I am from a Muggle family." "Sorry." Penelope didn't expect Ivan to be an orphan. She felt a little ashamed. Her original admiration for Ivan's extraordinary talent was gone. Born in an orphanage, he was so talented, yet he was so approachable. Just this modesty made Penelope admire him from the bottom of her heart. "It's okay, it's over." Ivan put his hands behind his back and slowed down his pace. He looked at Penelope and smiled. "We have to look forward, don't we?" "You're right." The senior sister touched the hair, falling on her face, and showed a charming smile. Penelope's voice was very pleasant, and she gave Ivan a delicate and soft feeling like a spring breeze. I have to admit that a girl like the senior sister made Ivan feel close. Of course, it's definitely not like anything. Ivan was more happy to find a peer with whom he could communicate. Hermione was indeed very smart and mature beyond her peers, but she was just a little girl after all, not even a girl. Many times, Ivan treated her like a brother taking care of his sister. Unlike now, Ivan can speak freely. "Is your last name, Ambrose, really like what they say?" "Penelope. I mean, your ancestor is that frame mark." After a period of contact, Penelope's affection for Ivan increased greatly. The boy did not have the arrogance and conceit of those senior students in other colleges. The closer she got to Ivan, the more Penelope could feel the kindness from the little wizard. Gradually, the relationship between the two became much closer. Now, Penelope can ask about Ivan's family and bloodline without any burden. "Ambrosius." Ivan nodded and said, "If it is the great wizard in the British legend, I did inherit his bloodline magic." "Want to see it?" Ivan has always been open to his friends. It is not his character to hide things. "What?" It's just that Penelope doesn't quite understand. She doesn't know the two great skills that Ivan inherited from Merlin. Merlin is a famous prophet in history. He made many prophecies. "You mean?" Hearing this, Penelope exclaimed, "You are a prophet?" Ivan gestured. "I know a little about prophecy." "Want to try? You want to predict for me?" Penelope was a little moved, and at the same time felt very honored because this was a prophecy made by Merlin's descendants. The senior sister did not doubt the truth of Ivan's words. This is not a little wizard who likes to show off. He disdains to do that kind of thing. It was a short conversation, but Penelope felt that way. "Can I choose the direction of the prophecy?" Of course. Ivan also wanted to know Penelope's future. Hogwarts is a talent base. There is no place better for Ivan to recruit like-minded people than here. Penelope is an extremely outstanding genius, which even in Hogwarts. In terms of talent, she is definitely not inferior to Hermione, and may even be better. The difference between the two is that Hermione is more ambitious. Yes, ambition. Wanting to prove oneself is also an ambition. In contrast, Penelope is more like a good wife who silently gives and supports her man behind his back. She needs a goal and someone to point the way forward for her. And she can accomplish things very well and perfectly. Chapter 81. The only thing missing from becoming the White Devil is a beautiful secretary. What a secretary-type talent. Ivan thought so, and waited patiently for Penelope to make a request. I want to know about my future life, such as work. As expected by Ivan, Penelope's wish was quite simple, and she asked about her future position. This kind of law-abiding thought is common to most wizards. Okay. Ivan smiled slightly and waved to the lake beside him. A ball of water floated in front of the two people and then began to change, turning into a water mirror reflecting their faces. What is this? It's better to see the prophecy with your own eyes than to listen to my explanation, Ivan said, silver in his eyes. At the same time, the picture in the water mirror began to change. It was a woman in a windbreaker, about 17 or 18 years old, walking on the busy street. It's me. Penelope saw the woman's appearance. It was exactly herself, but a little older. Obviously, this is what she will look like in the future. Where is she going? The scene in the water mirror turned, and Penelope saw herself walking into a place where many wizards gathered. Ministry of Magic? Will I work in the Ministry of Magic in the future? Unfortunately, before Penelope could be happy, she saw a dim office. There, her future self was wearing glasses, looking through documents with a tired face, and was obviously not happy. Penelope stood there, speechless for a long time. Penelope knew what this picture represented very well. After graduating from Hogwarts, she would enter the Ministry of Magic and become an ordinary office worker there. Penelope was not Newt and would not regard the office as the most feared thing. But if this is her future, then why did she study so hard? Ivan heard the voice of the senior sister clearly. Since learning the brain occlusion technique, Ivan's control of legilimency has become more and more proficient. Now he has set up multiple trigger mechanisms for passive legilimency. For example, when someone mentions his name or constructs an image of Ivan in his mind, he can hear the other person's voice within the range of legilimency. 3 points of thinking attribute are enough for Ivan's brain to process this information. In addition, Ivan can set up certain people in advance to specifically feel their thoughts and emotions. But Ivan usually controls this power. For friends like Harry and Hermione, Ivan will reversely block their thoughts to avoid touching their privacy. Senior sister, don't you want to go to the Ministry of Magic? Then, Penelope lowered her head slightly, and she said, I just think if the future job is like that, then what is the point of studying hard in Hogwarts? She is confident that she can graduate from Hogwarts with the best grades. However, with such ability, she can only find a low-level job in the Ministry of Magic. Ivan was a little surprised. It was not Penelope's idea, but that the senior sister actually trusted him so much. What she said was the same as what she thought in her heart. This means that Penelope really treated Ivan as a person to confide in, without any reason or excuse. I have actually thought about this doubt of the senior sister. Ivan did not hate Penelope's complaints. She was obviously more capable than most people, but she could only do a job that could be replaced by anyone. Who will be convinced by this? However, society is like this. Penelope is not complaining, but rather a disguised form of envy. She may have known it long ago. Wizarding society and Hogwarts are two completely different worlds. Everything here will become meaningless once you leave school. You have this doubt too? Penelope was surprised. After all, Ivan was so arrogant. Isn't this a little too early? She is already in the 5th grade and will soon be in the 6th grade when she will graduate and enter the society. So it is normal to worry about the future and be confused about the future life. But Ivan, Penelope regretted it a little. She felt that she shouldn't say these things and put pressure on Ivan for nothing. I'm sorry, Ivan's maturity and strength made Penelope subconsciously regard him as a peer. The first grade wizard is at the time of fantasy, but she took her own troubles and broke Ivan's dream. No need to apologize, Penelope. Ivan smiled and said, and I'm not that fragile. Penelope is a kind and simple girl. Ivan heard that many wizards in Hogwarts regarded her as their white moonlight. Senior sister, have you ever thought about a question? Ivan simply comforted Penelope and continued his topic. What? Muggles have a saying, which is to apply what you have learned. Ivan said, but in today's magic world, many of our magics are actually useless. Penelope listened to Ivan's description blankly, but she didn't understand what Ivan meant. Are you confused, senior sister? Ivan smiled slightly and said, what does this have to do with your work? Yeah, Penelope fell into deep thought. She really didn't understand. But Ivan's next sentence made Penelope stunned on the spot. Senior sister asked me to tell fortunes. What you really want to know is actually the future income, right? Penelope hesitated to speak. She wanted to hide something, but in the end, she could only lower her head in shame. There's no need to feel embarrassed. Ivan said, every wizard likes gold galleons, and I like them too. Penelope doesn't like money. She is simply afraid that after graduating from Hogwarts, she won't be able to find a good job and support herself. Are both your parents muggles? My mother is a witch. Penelope is a mixed race. She said, my mother fell in love with my father, so she gave up magic and chose to live in the muggle world. Her father is an ordinary person with an ordinary job. So the Clearwater family's life is not difficult, but it can't be called rich. It's just that Penelope's father died when she was 5 or 6 years old. My mother is an outstanding graduate of Hogwarts, Penelope, but the Muggle world does not recognize this kind of academic qualifications. To Muggles, my mother is a person who doesn't even have an elementary school diploma. As a result, she can't even find a decent job in the Muggle world. Despite living in the Muggle world for a while, Penelope's mother still can't integrate well into the Muggle society. In order to make a living, Penelope's mother had to return to the magic world and earn gold galleons to support the mother and daughter. Hearing this, Ivan basically understood Penelope's thoughts. First of all, Penelope, like her mother, had no resume or diploma in the Muggle world. This means that once Penelope gave up her life in the magic world and went to the Muggle world, she would have a hard time. Some people might ask, how can wizards not survive in the Muggle world? Any magic is a big profit, right? But is it really like this? You know, the British Ministry of Magic has a department called the Department of Prohibition of Abuse of Muggle Objects. Casting spells on Muggle objects and transforming Muggle objects are illegal in the British magic world. Not to mention that wizards cast spells on Muggles, hurt Muggles, or are seen by Muggles casting spells, which are strictly prohibited. Because of the statute of secrecy, Penelope was a little scared. She felt that she shouldn't mention the statute of secrecy. You know, hiding the wizarding world and maintaining the statute of secrecy is the responsibility of the entire wizarding society. Anyone who dares to cross the line will be held accountable and even sent to a prison like Azkaban. Ahem. Ivan coughed lightly, and the two looked at each other, understanding each other. Then they tacitly skipped the statute of secrecy. The topic of the statute of secrecy is a taboo. As early as decades ago, after the first wizard war that swept the world, no one dared to question this issue. Do you know how many wizards there are in the British wizarding world? A few thousand people, probably over 3,000, less than 4,000. Yes, 3,000 or 4,000. Ivan said, then how many jobs are there in the Ministry of Magic? The British Ministry of Magic seems to have a big name, but the wizards they actually manage are at most 3,000 or 4,000. 3,000 or 4,000 people. In Ivan's previous life, a slightly larger village would exceed this number. Do you understand, senior? Ivan said, there are only so many jobs for wizards, and the number of jobs is also limited. So the problem came. Wizards from the Muggle world have no foundation in the wizarding world, let alone savings. If they want to live in the wizarding world, they can only compete for the few jobs. They don't earn much money from work, and it's already very difficult to just support themselves. not to mention doing some magic research to improve themselves. The vacancies in the wizarding world have long been filled, and it is impossible to make way for latecomers. Even if there are really positions, it will definitely not be the turn of wizards like us. Ivan's words have a certain element of incitement, but Penelope must admit that Ivan spoke to her heart, and this is what the senior is most dissatisfied with. The Ministry of Magic prohibits wizards from studying and modifying Muggle items. This has caused the magic world to be like a stagnant pool of water. No new industries have been born for a long time. Instead of developing more and newer industries, what can the young wizards do after graduating from Hogwarts? Look at the Weasley brothers. Bill is in Gringotts. Charlie goes to raise dragons. Percy enters the Ministry of Magic, and the twins will open a joke shop. It seems that everyone has their own choices, but in fact, except for the twins, they are all working for others, and there is nothing new to say. Jobs are not squeezed out, but created. However, the Ministry of Magic has long been corrupt. They don't want to change, nor do they allow others to change. If someone questions it, they will bring out this statute of secrecy. Everything you do may increase the risk of exposure to the wizarding world. They won't allow us to do what we want. If we insist on doing this, they will send people to arrest us. Even if they can't catch us, they will bring out that law. Ivan's words, like a sharp sword, tore apart Penelope's remaining self-deception. Then we will become enemies with wizards all over the world, and become the villain who destroys the balance of the magic world. Then, what if we return to the Muggle world? Penelope's hands trembled slightly. She didn't have the courage, let alone the ability to resist authority. Let's not talk about whether we can still be willing to return to ordinary life after seeing the magic of magic. Ivan, let's talk about life. How can we make a living when we return to the Muggle world? The same thing. Without the identity and education of the Muggle world, it is difficult for ordinary wizards like them to live in the Muggle world. Of course, if your parents are rich in the Muggle world, just pretend that Ivan didn't say it. I'm just worried about this. Penelope looked at Ivan expectantly, wanting to know what he would do. The senior sister has already seen that Ivan is definitely not a law-abiding person. But so what? Ivan's thoughts are exactly what she and countless young wizards want to say, but dare not say. Ahem, seeing that Penelope is faintly being led astray by himself, Ivan quickly coughed dryly. First of all, I have to explain one thing. What? I actually am very rich. Ivan, I have a lot of Muggle currency. I'm a rich man over there. Huh? Penelope opened her mouth, looking so cute with disbelief. Of course, I earned all my Muggle currency myself. KR. Penelope was speechless for a moment. She felt that what she had just said, as well as the topic of confusion about the future, were really stupid. Ivan, what you're worried about, in my opinion, is not a problem at all. Isn't it just life? Isn't the currency in the Muggle world money? Ivan can live a top Muggle life and then go to the wizarding world to conduct magic research. The Ministry of Magic only does not allow wizards to transform Muggle items, but does not stipulate that they cannot buy Muggle items. Food, clothing, daily necessities, even cars for travel and houses for living. As long as you don't use magic to harm Muggles, the Ministry of Magic can't control you. Penelope was embarrassed. She felt that she really didn't understand Ivan, her junior, at all. How much did you make? Penelope looked at Ivan with some doubt. Ivan said that he made a lot of Muggle coins, which was incredible to Penelope. You know, her mother tried every possible way, but couldn't make much money. Even Penelope's father was just an ordinary working class. How old is Ivan? How much money can an 11-year-old child make? Ahem. Seeing this, Ivan said, probably hundreds of millions of pounds. Hundreds of millions. This number almost scared Penelope to death. You? How did you do it? How old are you to make so much money? At first, I bought lottery tickets. Ivan didn't think there was anything shameful about this. My prophecy can see the lottery winning code. Zhao Zhao. Good guy, this alone is enough to shock Penelope. But I only used this method once to earn startup capital. Although prophecy does not involve confidentiality laws, it will also attract the attention of Muggles. After all, winning the lottery again and again is too incredible. Once someone thinks that Ivan has a special ability, The Ministry of Magic will think that he has exposed the existence of magic. Yes, the Ministry of Magic is so unreasonable. Any action that may expose the existence of magic and wizards will be regarded as a crime. After getting the first pot of gold, I started to learn about finance. Does senior sister know about stocks? Yes. Penelope doesn't know much, but she knows this. There are also real estate, funds, securities, and some emerging industries that I have chosen for investment in the world. Ivan briefly described his previous business plan. In this process, I did not use magic, but used it to fight here. He pointed to his head. In fact, he was talking about Ivan's past life memories. Although there are many differences between the past life and the present life, some major directions are the same. For example, this year is 1991, and Christmas is coming soon. The time for the disintegration of the bear is not far away. And for this moment, Ivan has already withdrawn all his liquid funds in order to take this opportunity to make his assets explode. If nothing goes wrong, when he returns from the Christmas holiday, Ivan can call himself a billionaire. Please note that the 10 billion here is not RMB, but British pounds or the British pounds in 1991. In a word, Muggle currency will soon become a string of numbers in Ivan's eyes, and it will only increase in the future. Penelope was completely stunned. She thought Ivan was just talented in magic, but she didn't expect that he even knew so much about the finance of the Muggle world. The senior sister didn't know that Ivan was about to intervene in the bear incident, but the wealth of hundreds of millions of pounds was shocking enough. Chapter 82 Ivan. I think you could be the Minister of Magic. The two chatted a lot by the lake until Hermione and other friends found them. In the afternoon, there was a Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Slytherin. Ivan and Hermione didn't really understand the fun of Quidditch, but Neville and Parvati were in high spirits. What's more, Harry was their friend. Ivan had to go to his game. As the game progressed, one after another Gryffindor team members were injured and fell, and Ivan felt the cruelty of this game. But Ivan didn't say anything. For wizards, this injury is not much different from an ordinary foul in a football team. In addition, Ivan must admit that Quidditch is indeed a very exciting flying sport. If you have to make an analogy, Quidditch is not like football or basketball. It is more like racing, an extreme game that requires full concentration and crazy adrenaline secretion. What a pity. Ivan knows flying magic, which means he will never feel the thrill and fun of Quidditch. Come on, Hermione, who was on the side, experienced the Quidditch game up close, changed her original misunderstanding, and cheered loudly for Harry. After about 20 minutes of the game, Harry found a golden snitch and began to collide with the Slytherin Seeker. Both sides refused to give in and tried their best to fight for the golden snitch, which symbolized victory. He caught the golden snitch. Suddenly, the host Lee Jordan and the audience shouted loudly. Harry Potter caught the golden snitch and won 150 points. Gryffindor wins. As Madame Hooch blew the whistle to end the game, the Gryffindor audience area erupted in a thunderous shout. Harry Potter. Potter won. We won. Ivan slowly stood up, looking at Harry holding the golden snitch high on the field, smiling and applauding. That night, Gryffindor students surrounded Harry. After defeating Slytherin, not only these students, but even Professor McGonagall drank a cup of wine happily. Professor Cat is a Quidditch fan, but Slytherin has won the Quidditch championship for 6 consecutive years, and she dreams of letting Gryffindor win a championship. For this reason, McGonagall also bought Harry a Nimbus 2000. Congratulations. After the celebration party, Ivan congratulated. How do you feel? It's the happiest moment of my life. Harry did not hide his inner joy. He said that he would continue to work hard and would definitely help Gryffindor win the championship. That, Ivan. After being happy, Harry thought of something, and he asked with some embarrassment, I want to bring Ronald to join in. I don't know. Have you reconciled? Since Ronald was hit by the Imperius curse and stayed in the school hospital for nearly a week, Ivan has not paid attention to him again. However, during this period, Ronald and Harry's relationship seems to have returned to the original state. Yeah, Harry, he wants to apologize to you. Apologize? Ivan asked in confusion. We don't seem to have any grudges, do we? No need to apologize. Ivan refused very straightforwardly. He said, as for joining the mysterious side, I will bring a newcomer tomorrow. Let's test it together then. If you want to join the mysterious side, you need to pass the test of Ivan, the founder. The content of the test is not limited to magic talent. In fact, compared to talent, Ivan is more concerned about the other party's character and pursuit. To use a famous saying of a certain Wong, what is your dream? Harry. After getting Ivan's affirmative answer, Harry returned to the dormitory. Ronald was sitting there a little nervously. When he saw Harry coming back, he hurriedly stepped forward and asked, "Did Ivan agree? Let's go together tomorrow night." Harry was simple-minded. He really regarded Ronald as his best friend and was willing to share anything with him. Really, Ronald was extremely happy. He respected and feared Ivan, but more of it was admiration and envy. He entered Hogwarts with Harry. At the beginning, their magic skills were comparable and equally poor. However, since Harry received Ivan's teaching, his spellcasting ability has improved by leaps and bounds. Every time Ronald asked Harry to teach magic, he couldn't understand what Harry was saying. Ronald couldn't understand those concepts and the spellcasting techniques that Harry said Ivan had specially tailored for him. So, seeing the gap between Harry and himself getting bigger and bigger, Ronald finally got anxious. That's why Ronald separated from Harry on Halloween and used Voldemort's Imperious Curse. They had a quarrel, and Ronald felt that Harry looked down on him. Ivan is really amazing. He can see the problems in us at a glance. Harry admired Ivan very much, but Ronald, you have to be prepared. Preparation to enter the mysterious side. You have to go through Ivan's test. Test. When Ronald heard the word test, CHFF, he panicked. He thought that with Harry's relationship with Ivan, he could get him to join in just by saying a word. Harry was shocked by Ronald's reaction. What's wrong? What's the problem? Ronald, I'm just a little worried. Don't worry, Ronald. Harry knew Ivan's character very well. He was strict a lot of the time just to motivate them. You will definitely pass. Perhaps because of the long contact, Harry can always read some of Ivan's hints and subtexts. The so-called test is actually just a formality. Harry was hesitating whether to tell Ronald the truth. Just seeing the depression on Ronald's face, Harry was a little hesitant. He had already discovered some problems with Ronald. Ronald was a little inferior. This was a Weasley family problem. As the youngest brother, Ronald's things are all old. He has almost never owned anything that is completely his. But the problem is, Harry, I am the same. Before coming to the wizarding world, Harry's life was much worse than Ronald's. Not only did he not have parents, but his only relative also treated him with cold violence. To be honest, Harry couldn't understand why Ronald was jealous. If he really envied him, Harry would rather trade with Ronald. If you like, I'll give you this scar. If you can choose, who would be willing to be the scarred head? But didn't I join Ivan's study group a long time ago? This is where Ronald feels uncomfortable. He was originally a member of it. So why does he have to take a test before he can join? Ronald, you. Harry didn't know what to say. He wanted to tell his friend. This is the test Ivan gave you. But Harry didn't say it. Harry felt a little uncomfortable now, as if there was a breath stuck in his chest, and he couldn't spit it out. That's because you quit first. Harry regretted agreeing Ronald's request. At the beginning, Ivan treated everyone equally and never treated Ronald unfairly. He taught and guided Ronald without reservation. However, Ronald was lazy and playful and didn't want to stay with them. Ivan was not angry about Ronald's choice. It's normal for children to be playful. So when Harry came up, Ivan gave Ronald a second chance without hesitation. He felt that Ronald had figured it out. What else could Ivan expect if he could recognize his mistakes? Ivan always pays attention to teaching students in accordance with their aptitude. For Hermione, who takes learning as fun, Ivan will give her a lot of homework. Neville is diligent enough, but too dull. So Ivan never gives Neville extra tasks, but just explains the simplest content to him again and again. Harry is a practical person, and he can't do anything with theories. Ivan will teach him step by step and increase his proficiency in spells and actual combat. Everyone's learning tasks are not heavy. In addition to learning the knowledge taught by Ivan, Harry has a lot of time to play with the little lions and receive team training. Similarly, Ivan also has a set of special coping strategies for little wizards like Ronald. Do you know what Ivan will test at that time? Ronald looked at Harry expectantly. If it was Hermione here, The little witch would definitely refuse sternly and tell him that this was a leak of questions and cheating. Unfortunately, Harry is not as rigid as Hermione. It's progress. Harry didn't say much, but he had already told Ronald the purpose of the test. What is progress? It's to see Ronald's ambition. What does he want? Becoming stronger is fine, or learning more magic. Even if he wants to beat up Malfoy, it's fine. Do you really want Ronald to come back? On the other side, Hermione also heard the conversation between Harry and Ivan. Do you care a lot? I hate him. Hermione never concealed her disgust for Ronald. Every time she saw him, the little witch would feel physically uncomfortable. Don't be prejudiced against anyone. Ivan said this, but added, although Ronald is really not very good now. Poochie. Hermione couldn't help laughing and said, you are even more excessive, right? What about the other person? If he wants to bring in new people, Ivan will definitely notify the original members. Hermione is a little curious. You know that senior from Ravenclaw. Clivet. Hermione was a little surprised. She hesitated, but senior sister is already in the 5th grade. A 5th-year senior sister. Can she accept the guidance of a little wizard? Will she think we are childish? If it's just you, Ivan gave Hermione an affirmative answer. Yes. Hey. Hermione patted Ivan in dissatisfaction. She was Miss Beaver who refused to admit defeat. How could she be compared with Penelope? Okay, senior sister won't despise you. Still talking. While playing with Hermione, Ivan told Hermione what Penelope had talked to him about after deleting the privacy. I never thought about these. Hermione lowered her head and fell in a deep thought. Sooner or later, she will also face employment problems. At that time, what should she do? Ivan, what do you think I can do in the future? You? Ivan smiled and said, I think you are very suitable to be the Minister of Magic. What? The little witch widened her eyes with an unbelievable look. You mean the Minister of Magic? The one in England? Does England have a second Ministry of Magic? Or, Hermione, are you going to be the head of the Ministry of Magic in the world? Head, let me think. It seems to be called the President of the International Confederation of Wizards, right? How can that be possible? Hermione could see that Ivan was not joking. At least the Minister of Magic in front of him was serious. Ivan, do you really think I can? Yes, I believe you can do it. With the endorsement of the original book, Hermione's ability is absolutely unquestionable. But the main reason why she can become the Minister of Magic in the original book is Harry, the savior who defeated Voldemort twice. If it weren't for this achievement, even if Hermione wanted to compete for the position of minister, it would probably take a long time. Remember the dream of our team? Yeah. Hermione knew that Ivan was an ambitious person, but she didn't hate him. Ivan was not a madman like Voldemort, and he would not kill people if he disagreed with him. He once told Hermione his attitude. As long as the other party plays tricks on him, Ivan will abide by the rules of the game and not turn the table. Ivan's goal is to become the White Devil. What is the White Devil? Dumbledore once had the opportunity to become the White Devil. Unfortunately, the old headmaster softened his heart. Ivan is the old headmaster's disciple, and he has inherited the blood of Grindelwald and Dumbledore. So it makes sense for him to lead the dreams of the two when they were young, isn't it? But those are still too far away. Ivan said, the most important thing for us now is to work hard to improve ourselves. Eastern wizards believe that practicing magic requires 4 things: sufficient material resources, like-minded friends, a lot of magical knowledge, and an environment suitable for practice. Ivan converted the wealth, companions, magic, and land into a language that Hermione could understand. How many requirements do you think we meet now? Hermione thought for a while and said, in terms of magical knowledge, with Ivan here and so many books in Hogwarts, we are definitely not short of it. Like-minded partners. Hermione felt that although their number was small, whether it was Neville, Parvati, Harry, or her, everyone could help Ivan in the future, especially the little witch herself. She felt that the Minister of Magic mentioned by Ivan might be a plan for her future. If I can become the Minister of Magic, I should be able to help you, right? Hermione secretly encouraged herself. She planned to read more books about the Ministry of Magic and the politics of the wizarding world to prepare for entering the Ministry of Magic in advance. Just 2 points. Yeah, Hermione said, sufficient resources and an environment suitable for cultivation. I'm not sure how to judge. As for the environment, isn't the room of requirement? Yes. Hermione's eyes lit up and she smiled. The room of requirement can provide a variety of rooms, and it is our secret base, and no one will come to disturb it. The land in the land of wealth, fate, and law generally refers to a cave with excellent feng shui. However, Ivan and his team are wizards, and there is no such thing as a cultivator in this world, so there's no need to be so harsh. The room of requirement is very good. As for the final resources, what we lack now is resources, right? Hermione knew that Ivan was very interested in alchemy, but due to insufficient materials, Ivan had no chance to make it. Dumbledore is rich, but Ivan will not bother him for this matter. Be a man of measure. Ivan already owed the old headmaster a big favor. If he accepted the other party's investment, he might really inherit Dumbledore's family business. This is exactly what I was going to tell you today. Ivan took Hermione's hand, led her into his dormitory, and then stood in front of the 2-meter-high wardrobe close to the wall. Chapter 83, Thunderbird Leader, a Wardrobe. This was not the first time Hermione had entered Ivan's bedroom, and she knew the furnishings in this room very well. This is a magic prop. In this world, the little witch was the person Ivan trusted the most, no one else. So Ivan had always spared no effort in cultivating Hermione. Click! Ivan stepped forward and twisted the handle on the wardrobe, and then cast a special unlocking spell on it. Golden Jade Cave Opening. The spell that matches the Golden Jade Cave Opening is called Golden Shackles, and Jade Lock the latter is similar to the combination lock in the magic world, which requires specific magic power to open. Otherwise, you have to use the most stupid method, through magic, to open it bit by bit. Even a great wizard like Dumbledore would have to spend some time to open this spell. Remember this spell. The Golden Jade Cave Opening seems simple, but it can actually be combined with the Golden Shackles and Jade Locks to derive a large number of combinations. As long as the connection can be established, it can be easily opened. How many spells have you invented? Hermione was speechless. She felt that Ivan seemed to have modified all the spells he had learned. Ahem, Ivan said. To learn new spells, you need to be proficient in using the original spells. When you have learned enough, I will teach you. Ivan pushed open the door of the closet and waved at Hermione. I will take you somewhere. The little witch didn't understand. But out of trust in Ivan, she followed him without hesitation. The next moment, as Hermione stepped into the closet, she felt that the originally dim dormitory suddenly became bright. The flowing breeze and the smell of flowers, plants, and soil lingering on the tip of her nose, Hermione looked at the primeval forest in front of her, which was so shocking. Hermione walked forward a few steps blankly, and after confirming that all this was real and not an illusion, she turned to Ivan and said, "Did you cast a traceless extension spell in a closet?" The little witch subconsciously thought that this was the closet space that Ivan had transformed. She was not like Harry, who was immersed in the magic in front of him. Hermione had read a lot of books and had a certain understanding of the traceless extension spell. Unfortunately, she guessed wrong this time. This is not a traceless extension spell. Ivan had his hands behind his back, and there was an air door behind him. Yumi was seen running out of the door leisurely, and he didn't forget to close it. Click! A crisp sound came from the door, which was the echo of the closet being locked again. Meow. If it's not a traceless extension spell, then it must be a door key. But Hermione didn't experience the feeling described in the book, as if her belly button was pulled and flew out. This is an independent space. Ivan didn't keep Hermione in suspense any longer and told her about the secret closet. As for the origin of the secret closet, I'm a descendant of Merlin after all. It's not strange that some treasures have been passed down to me. Ivan would not reveal the existence of the system to anyone. Merlin's legacy was a good reason. At least Hermione believed it. Merlin was the greatest wizard in England. No matter what kind of magical things, just put them on him. How did you do this? Hermione couldn't imagine the origin of the secret closet. She asked, "How big is this place?" "Very big," Ivan said seriously. I turned into Obscurus before and explored dozens of mountains around, but I still didn't see the border of this world. How is this possible? Hermione was extremely shocked. What kind of power can create such a large space? Magic? But what kind of magic can do this? Isn't it hard to imagine? Ivan smiled and said, "When I first came in, I was as surprised as you. The magic of ancient wizards is far more powerful than we thought," Ivan said, beckoning Hermione to go forward with him, and Yumi followed behind them obediently. Cats have a strong sense of danger. Whenever they encounter any danger, Yumi will warn them immediately. In Ivan's previous explorations, cats always reminded their owners to be careful before the danger was predicted. Since he dared to bring Hermione here, he had to ensure her safety. Ivan asked Hermione, took Yumi with her, and told her to run to him immediately if Yumi gave a warning. After this period of exploration, Ivan had already gone from not daring to go deep at first to going into the secret realm of the wardrobe every once in a while. There are a large number of magical creatures living in the secret realm, some of which are powerful and occupy one side like wild beasts. These powerful magical creatures have a strong sense of territory. For example, the giant thunderbird that Ivan encountered when he first came in was the owner of the lake in the valley, surrounded by several high mountains at the entrance of the wardrobe. Ivan fought with the opponent 3 times. The first time, Ivan injured it and then repelled it. At that time, Ivan had not mastered too much magic and could only rely on pure magic to crush it and use the power of Obscurus to compete with it. Because he was afraid of the power of the Thunderbird, Ivan sealed the secret realm of the wardrobe for a whole month. It was not until he verified his strength in Snape's hands that he returned to the field with a lot of newly learned magic. Boom! As the two were talking, there was a sudden burst of thunder in the sky. Hermione raised her head quickly and saw golden figures flying from afar. What is that? Thunderbird. Thunderbird, Hermione. But isn't that a magical creature that lives in the United States? The little witch had never seen a thunderbird and had only read about this magical creature in a book. But in the book, the thunderbird was described as a creature that could compete with the fire dragon for territory. Hermione counted the shadows in the sky, and there were at least 5 thunderbirds flying towards this side. 5 thunderbirds are equivalent to 5 dragons. Ivan, don't be nervous. Ivan calmed the nervous little witch and said, "That's a new friend I met in the secret space." Friend, it can be said that there is no acquaintance without fighting. In the second battle, Ivan successfully defeated the giant thunderbird. However, the thunderbird was arrogant by nature and would never yield to anyone. It would rather die in Ivan's hands than bow to him. Ivan was not a murderer. Moreover, this was the territory of the thunderbird, and he was an outsider. Helplessly, Ivan just chose to explore nearby and then let the thunderbird go without killing it. In the subsequent exploration, the thunderbird realized the strength of Ivan. When the two met again, Ivan saw the same kind that followed the giant thunderbird. It turned out that there was a group of thunderbirds living in this area with a total of 12 thunderbirds. The largest thunderbird was the Lord here, and Ivan called it the Thunderbird Leader. Its strength was extremely strong. Ivan estimated that at least several strong men of Snape's level were needed to match it. Ivan initially thought that the Thunderbird Leader brought his entire family to take revenge on him. Unfortunately, Ivan thought too much. Thunderbirds are extremely proud creatures. The Thunderbird Leader lost to Ivan, but was spared by him. Although the two are still enemies, the Thunderbird Leader will not do such a thing as a group fight. It also wants to save face. The Thunderbird is psychic. It knows that I have no ill intentions. Plus, I have shown enough strength, Ivan said. So the Thunderbird Leader allowed me to explore its territory at will. But that was a month ago. Ivan smiled slightly and then released the divine phoenix from his body. I saw the colorful divine bird with red and gold divine light lingering all over its body. Soaring into the sky, she made bursts of cries to the thunderbirds, attracting the latter's response. Alia! Hermione bathed in the glow of the divine phoenix and found that the dark clouds in the sky were dissipating. It was obvious that the thunderbirds were welcoming the arrival of the divine phoenix. What's going on? 100 birds pay homage to the phoenix, Ivan said, If it was just an ordinary phoenix, the Thunderbird would not be like this. But my phoenix is not ordinary. Huang, this is the name Ivan gave to his own phoenix. However, in order to adapt to the local customs, Ivan also gave her a foreign name called Alia. Obviously, Hermione and others prefer to call her Alia. After all, it is really difficult for a group of little wizards living in England to figure out the front and back nasal sounds and child sounds. Hey, Ivan greeted the Thunderbird family in the sky and said to Hermione, Phoenix is the most noble existence among the phoenixes. Even the immortal bird like Fox has to bow down in front of her. The Thunderbird leader is not afraid of the phoenix, but respects this king of birds from a foreign country. It's like a distinguished guest came to the house, and the Thunderbirds felt honored. As a result, Ivan, who had the same aura as the phoenix, was also regarded as a distinguished guest by the Thunderbirds, and was given great respect. Dax! Soon, the Thunderbird leader landed in front of Ivan and Hermione with a sharp scream. The huge body of more than 10 meters scared Hermione. Is the Thunderbird this big? Hermione remembered that the largest Thunderbird recorded in the book was only about 7 or 8 meters. But the behemoth in front of her was almost 20 meters. You know, the height difference is more than double, and the size difference will be even more exaggerated. Just like the Thunderbirds in front of them, compared with their leader, they are just like a few pigeons standing next to a rooster. The latter is obviously several times larger, and it is almost not the same species. So if it's the leader, Hermione, that's right. Fortunately, the little witch is not a magizoologist like Newt. She will be surprised, but not confused. You can go and touch them. I have something to say to the Thunderbird leader. What? Hermione tilted her head, looking confused. Let alone let her go play with the Thunderbird alone. What the hell is talking to the Thunderbird leader? Ahem. Ivan saw Hermione's confusion and gestured with his thumb and index finger. Since I awakened Phoenix, I have gained some experience in the language of birds. Well, just a little bit. 17 Ivan called this talent voice imitator, which is an extremely rare blood talent like Parseltongue. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Ivan made all kinds of chirps from his mouth like whistling, and the Thunderbird leader seemed to understand what he meant and responded with the same chirp. On the other side, Hermione, who was still shocked that Ivan knew bird language, suddenly found that Yumi in her arms jumped out. The cat ran to the other Thunderbirds, followed its claws, and climbed onto the other's back. Yumi! Hermione exclaimed, but saw that Yumi treated the Thunderbird as a playground and happily slid down from its wings. Hermione, you should get familiar with him first. What? Hearing Ivan's words, Hermione didn't know what he wanted to do. However, the Thunderbirds seemed to have been familiar with Ivan for a long time. Even if Hermione approached, she seemed very friendly and did not have the ferocity of a bird of prey at all. Gradually, Hermione was immersed in the might and magnificence of the Thunderbirds. I have to admit that the Thunderbirds are really handsome, and they're the sky beast that any boy or girl can yearn for. I want a place to live. The area doesn't need to be too big. Just a corner of this lake will do. Ivan came here this time to show Hermione the world, but more importantly, he wanted to make a deal with the Thunderbird leader. He planned to turn the forest near the entrance into another secret base. No, it can't be said to be another place. To be precise, this is their real base. Ivan only trusts Hermione now, and only by bringing people into the secret realm of the closet can he be completely recognized by Ivan. This request is too much. The Thunderbird leader was very resistant. Animals have a strong sense of territory. Sometimes they would rather die in battle than give up their territory. I know. Ivan asked the Thunderbird leader to calm down. He said, I'm not going to seize your territory, but trade. Trade? Yes. Ivan could certainly take it by force, but he regarded the Thunderbirds as friends. Magical creatures are also lives. As long as they are not extremely dangerous and cannot communicate, Ivan hopes to coexist peacefully with them. For the secret world to exist, there must be 10 sets of ecological cycles. Destroying any link in it may lead to unpredictable consequences. Protect animals, protect the environment, and then develop sustainably. Chapter 80 for the Ultimate Guardian Spell. You see, my companions and I have no ill will towards you. Ivan explained, As for what I can give you, what do you think of blood purification? Blood. The Thunderbird leader did not understand what Ivan meant by this sentence. As Ivan disassembled it, the Thunderbird leader understood. Can you restore our Thunderbirds to their previous state? The Thunderbird is the sky overlord in American mythology, a giant beast that has the power to control thunder and lightning. However, the current Thunderbird has long lost its former glory. The thunder disappeared from their bodies. Although they can still call the wind and rain, changing the sky is a completely different concept from incarnating thunder. Ivan once asked Dumbledore what the Thunderbirds were like in ancient times. The old headmaster told him that the Thunderbirds were once the incarnation of golden thunder. They summon lightning and shuttle through the dark clouds, even among the fastest batch of magical biological clocks. Yes, Ivan said, I can help you find a thunder. The Thunderbird leader should not have believed such empty words. However, the example of the divine phoenix is here. She is the phoenix who found the flame, a real mythical creature. The Thunderbird leader could not refuse the temptation of returning to the ancestral bloodline. And in the dark, the Thunderbird leader had a feeling that following the human cub in front of him would bring him unimaginable benefits. I believe you. As long as you don't destroy this land, the Thunderbird leader said, you can take anything. Thank you so much. Ivan didn't expect the Thunderbird leader to be so generous. Ivan didn't know what to do to make the Thunderbird return to its ancestral bloodline. But he has the magic eye, which can study the physical condition of the Thunderbird and find out where they're different from their ancestors. Well, I also want to borrow 2 Thunderbirds from you. Ivan told the Thunderbird leader about his needs. This secret place is so vast that even if Ivan becomes a silent, he is still unable to reach it. Of course, a flying broomstick is also possible. But how can a flying broomstick compare to riding a Thunderbird? Yes, the Thunderbird leader is not like the so-called dragon, who regards riding as a taboo. In its view, there is no difference between helping Ivan and his partner, Hermione, and playing together. So, with a few calls from the Thunderbird leader, except for 2 Thunderbirds, the rest of the Thunderbirds followed the Thunderbird leader and flew away. Hermione saw the Thunderbird flying away and asked hurriedly, what happened? The deal is done. Ivan told Hermione about the deal between himself and the Thunderbird leader. And after learning that they had received help from a group of Thunderbirds in this secret place, the little girl was surprised. I plan to make this place our secret base. A real secret base, Ivan added. Hermione heard the hidden meaning in his words. Although this is a bit unfair to Neville and Parvati, but the company of the good will be red, the company of the bad will be black. Hermione was somewhat led astray by Ivan. She actually felt that it was right to be cautious. What should we do? Let's set up the protective magic first. Ivan, do you remember the magic I gave you last time? Yes. Hermione said, Safeguard. You said this magic will be very useful, is it now? Yes. Ivan is going to set up a huge magic barrier with the entrance as the center. In the wizarding world, there are many kinds of magic barriers. Armor protection for a single person, continuous overall protection, and range ultimate protection. The role of the safeguard is to resist the spell. It can hide an area so that the sounds and scenes inside cannot be detected by the outside world. In terms of protective performance, the safeguard has the lowest requirements among these magics. Even armor protection is not as good as it. With Hermione's current ability, she can't successfully cast the armor spell, armor protection. Even if it is used, the defensive strength is still worrying. You take Yumi with you, and one of the Thunderbirds. Ivan paused and said, you can get a name. I think you should get along for a long time. Can I? Hermione had never thought that she could have a Thunderbird as a companion, although it was only temporary. But as long as she lived here, what difference did it make whether it was temporary or not? So, Hermione named the female of the 2 Thunderbirds Renee, and Ivan named Rector. Renee and Rector were siblings, born from the same batch of eggs of the Thunderbird leader. They were gentle in nature, very curious about Ivan and Hermione, and didn't mind taking them on a tour of the forest. Take this. On the Thunderbird, Ivan threw a gold dragon to Hermione. I cast a communications courtyard on it, similar to a short-distance walkie-talkie. Our base from over there to over here. Ivan drew the boundaries of the territory for Hermione and then asked her to go there to arrange security and defense. The barrier doesn't need to be very detailed. The main thing is to be big. I know. Hermione immediately guessed Ivan's plan. He arranged security and defense in various places, and Ivan, who stood in the center, would arrange a super large magic barrier that could cover the entire area at one time, according to the magic mark left by Hermione. In this way, Ivan commanded in the air, while Hermione rode Renee and took Yumi with her, shuttling through the forest. With the Thunderbird protecting her and Yumi's warning, there was no need to worry about the little witch's safety. If there was any accident, Ivan in the air would use apparition to provide support at any time. Ivan was doing two things at the same time, paying attention to Hermione's actions while silently reciting the history in his heart. The ultimate guardian charm is an extremely advanced protective magic. Its function is to connect the magic power of each other and make it a whole. In Dumbledore's teaching, the ultimate guardian is often used together with the universal protection. It can glue together the barriers formed by multiple universal protections to arrange a giant shield that can cover a large area. However, this is a product without any restrictions. One Dumbledore's original words are as follows: "Because the real ultimate guardian charm requires too much magic power, there are not many people in the entire wizarding world who can use a spell to create a complete shield." And this must include Dumbledore. The spell of the ultimate guardian charm is very long, and there are many gaps that can be filled according to the needs of the caster. For example, the ultimate guardian charm that Ivan is casting now has been injected with the magic power of the Phoenix. The Phoenix carries the ancient runes from the East, namely benevolence, righteousness, courtesy, wisdom, and trustworthiness. These moral qualities that were very common in Ivan's previous life have a pivotal position in the wizard world and can be regarded as the pinnacle of Oriental magic. Unfortunately, these 5 kinds of magic require too much from wizards. If you don't have a righteous heart, don't know etiquette, and don't know what faith is, then you can't cast various magics related to it. However, this has nothing to do with Ivan. The Phoenix has its own 5 virtue runes. Rather than saying that Ivan is casting these magics, it is better to say that the Phoenix is the leader. I'm exhausted. About 3 hours later, Hermione wiped the sweat from her forehead, raised her wand high, and shot a magic firework into the air. Pop! Seeing this, Ivan stopped chanting the spell. The Phoenix sensed the will of its master and quickly stopped emotionally attacking Ivan. Ultimate Guardian! The next moment, as Ivan raised his wand high, endless magic power seemed to swallow up the whole world. Boom! The earth-shattering roar suddenly fell, like a big bowl hitting the ground, covering the surrounding forests and lakes. Buzz, buzz, the light curtains circulated, and the light on the barrier gradually dimmed until it disappeared completely. The little witch looked at the scene in front of her, and she stretched out her hand to touch the light curtain not far away. However, no matter how Hermione tried, enter, leave, jump back and forth, why didn't anything happen? Hermione found that she could not feel the existence of the ultimate guardian at all. Did Ivan fail to cast the spell? No, I succeeded. Ivan fell from the sky on Rector, and he landed beside Hermione and explained, "Magic can accommodate the mind, and many of our spells carry the personal will of the caster." In other words, Ivan did not simply set up a magic barrier. He created a protection system. This system has consciousness, just like those paintings, wizard chess pieces, and Mr. Weasley's car. But compared to those free and undisciplined thoughts, Ivan's barrier is better. The 5 virtues represent positive emotions, which makes the barrier extremely loyal and intelligent. It will identify the information inside the barrier and the people who want to enter, and then make various responses. Because 3.5 is the will of Ivan, the barrier regards Hermione as its own, and naturally will not prevent her from entering and leaving at will. But if you find that you can't get out at any time, Ivan said, don't be nervous. It may be that the barrier feels that there is some danger outside, so it protects you. Not only that, the barrier has many functions. Etnus. Ivan asked Hermione to cast magic on the trees, not far away. The little witch did not hesitate and hurriedly did it. I saw a crushing spell thrown by Hermione. However, with a flash of light, the crushing spell disappeared before approaching the tree, as if it had never appeared. What's going on? The barrier intercepted your crushing spell. Ivan explained. The barrier will judge the changes inside by itself. It can not only resist spells, but also defend against physical attacks. In other words, it is like a room controlled by artificial intelligence. What you can and cannot do is determined by this ultimate protection system. The will of the barrier will not be updated automatically, so there is no need to worry about it getting out of control. Group in fact, even if there is a problem with the barrier, Ivan has left enough back. Chapter 85 Magic Transformation Plan. After setting up the barrier, Ivan began to transform the forest. He did not cut down all the surrounding trees directly, but used magic to make the trees retreat by themselves, leaving enough space in the center for building a house. Next, it's time to build a house. Ivan used apparition to cut off the old tree, then waved the spell and whispered, "Weave Chew into a door." A large number of tools flew out of Ivan's bag. Saws, hammers, and nails started working as if they had their own lives. Just like Queenie's cooking magic in Fantastic Beasts 1, just waving the wand can make a house complete its construction by itself. All the processes in the middle are as fast as time acceleration. In less than 5 minutes, a unique wooden cottage appeared in front of the two. Wow, Hermione praised. It feels very good. With the materials, these life magics are really convenient. If muggles knew that wizards have this kind of magic, I don't know how many construction companies would cry in the toilet. It's not finished yet, Ivan said, and cast a magic again. Carved beams and painted buildings. If weaving Chew into a door is a simple construction of the house frame, then carved beams and painted buildings are more detailed carvings. This magic can change the internal structure of the house according to the owner's wishes. Okay, let's go in and take a look. Ivan took Hermione's hand, and the two of them pushed open the door of the cabin in the woods together. The first thing that came into view was a spacious hall, which was several times larger than it looked from the outside. It was obviously expanded with the traceless expansion spell. The floor was very smooth, unlike the one that was just made with burrs. There was no furniture in the house, so it looked empty. But Hermione didn't dislike it at all, but felt very warm. It's like a two-person cabin for me and Ivan. Ahem. Ivan paused, silently repeating that he was not a Lolita control, and then took Hermione to visit the interior of the cabin. The cabin is divided into 5 floors, 2 underground and 3 above ground. The first floor is the living room, kitchen, and bathroom, and the second floor has many rooms, which are specially for members of the organization to live in. The third floor is temporarily designated as a storage room for important items. As for the basement, Ivan plans to turn it into a place that can be used as both a training ground and a laboratory, and also place the door to the secret realm here. Once in danger, everyone can leave here through the door at the first time. Similarly, if an outsider breaks in, the first thing they have to face is the basement protected by various magic. The ultimate protection system is connected to the basement. If someone with bad intentions comes in, it will be a dead end. In addition, Ivan also plans to create an ecosystem for magical animals to live on the bottom floor, just like Newt's box. Hermione, raise your wand. After doing all this, Ivan nodded with satisfaction. Like this. Hermione did as she was told, and Ivan raised his wand as well. The next moment, a golden bridge appeared at the tips of the 2 wands, connecting them. This is, Hermione was about to ask, when she suddenly felt something in her heart. I have connected your magic power with the consciousness in the Ultimate Guardian. From now on, except for not being able to modify the Ultimate Guardian, Hermione will have the same rights as Ivan. Ivan also set the Little Witch as the second authority holder after himself. This authority is even above the will of the barrier. As long as Hermione wants, she can even remove the barrier and completely close it. Ivan, you actually trust me so much. Hermione was a little moved, and the little hand holding Ivan couldn't help but hold it tighter. It's very difficult for you to set up such a barrier now. Ivan smiled, and the tacit understanding between the two didn't need to say much. But if you just learn how to control it with your talent, Hermione, You should be able to master some authority before the next grade. Hermione pouted in dissatisfaction. She felt that Ivan underestimated her. I will definitely be earlier than that. Oh, then wait and see. Ivan likes Hermione's unyielding character, which can help her go further. Ivan touched the little witch's head. After all, our Miss Beaver is the smartest little witch in Hogwarts. Hermione snorted proudly and then asked curiously, Ivan, can I cast such magic in the future? Almost impossible. That's right. Having personally experienced the fluctuation of the magic power, Hermione can feel the gap between herself and Ivan. Complete an ultimate guard independently. Not to mention Hermione, even if Snape and Harry grow to their peak state, they can still reach the same level. To have that kind of power, you must undergo magical transformation. This is also a gift prepared by Ivan for Hermione. He will help the little witch complete a safe magical transformation before her 3rd grade. In the future, we can bring more things every time we come in. If 1 time is not enough, we can bring 2 times. Anyway, we can bring in whatever we can think of. Ivan has tested the secret world. The space here is very stable. The only way to enter and exit is through the wardrobe. Others, whether it is the Flynn Network, the Port Key, or the Apparition, cannot enter. It must be said that the wizard who created this secret world has a better understanding of space than Ivan could imagine. It is not an exaggeration to say that he created a new world. What should we do next? Investigate and research, collect information. Ivan said, there are a large number of magical animals and magical plants living here, almost everywhere. So in the next period of time, Ivan plans to take Hermione with him to count the various resources in the Thunderbird territory. The materials needed for alchemy and potions are, after all, animals, plants, and minerals. It's hard to say about minerals for now, but there is definitely no shortage of animal and plant resources in the secret realm. Doesn't that mean that if it is not discovered by outsiders, everything here is ours? Hermione is not greedy for money, but such a huge fortune seems to be beyond her tolerance limit, and the little which is tempted. In theory, yes. Ivan thought the same. Everything in the secret space can be regarded as reserve resources. The two stayed in the secret space for a long time. The next day, they entered again and conducted another investigation and record. There are more than 60 kinds of magical creatures in the Thunderbird territory, and there are countless magical plants. Because there are too many, the two can't count them at all. The most important thing is that they can't be identified. Although Ivan has powerful magic, he is not very interested in herbology. Hermione has read a lot of books. However, books are books, and field practice is another matter. There were very few plants that the two could recognize, even though Ivan could tell that a certain tree or a certain grass had strong magic. But the problem was that he didn't know them. He had no idea what the plant was used for. I remember Neville liked the herbology class very much. Professor Sprout had praised him many times, saying that he had a talent for it. Being praised by a dean was enough to prove Neville's high talent. You know, almost every teacher in Hogwarts, except for the few subjects that were just for show, was an authority in their field. Neville's ability to become a professor of herbology at Hogwarts in the future proved that he had the potential to reach the top. Take some back. I'll ask Professor Sprout. It's just right for Neville to have more contact with them. Ivan asked Hermione to be careful when picking the samples, and then manipulated them and put them in the traceless telescopic bag in different categories. In this way, the two were busy until late. Time came after the dinner. Ivan, Hermione, Neville, and Parvati gathered on time. Harry brought Ronald to find them, and Penelope, a senior from Ravenclaw, came with them. Everyone was surprised to see Penelope coming. I want to join you too. Penelope put her hair behind her head and smiled charmingly. Can I? Hermione and Parvati suddenly felt a sense of crisis. There was no way. The senior was too charming. Whether it was her temperament or her dress, she could simply capture the souls of young people. Neville, Harry, and Ronald, the three little guys, were completely immersed in the gentleness of the senior. Ahem, Ivan coughed lightly, and then took them to the Black Lake. The Black Lake was very quiet at night. The big octopus didn't know where it ran away. Only the lake's surface was rippling in the wind, which was refreshing. Ivan set up a magic barrier here to block the outside world's prying and prevent the conversation here from being heard by others. Okay, let's start the new member entrance examination now. Ivan took them to a secluded place. He first looked at Penelope, then looked at Ronald. Who goes first? The red-haired boy was very nervous and felt very embarrassed. He was the one who said he would quit before, and now he has to come back and ask Harry for help. When Ronald thought of this, he felt a burning pain on his face. He subconsciously lowered his head and didn't dare to look at Ivan. However, because Penelope was watching, Ronald mustered up the courage to say, "I'll go first." "Very good, very courageous." Ivan stepped forward and said, "Can I ask why you joined us, Ronald?" Ronald had prepared, so this question did not stump him. "I want to improve my magic level." Well, a very pertinent answer. Ivan didn't care about Ronald's answer. He shrugged and said, "But it doesn't matter. After all, every wizard likes to be able to master powerful magic." It's not important. So what are you asking?" Ronald felt confused, but he still waited for Ivan obediently, not daring to interrupt rashly. As mentioned before, Ivan didn't have much expectation for Ronald from the beginning. Among the young wizards, Ronald was mediocre, and his ability represented the average level of young wizards in the magic world. No, it should be said to be below average. Ronald may not even reach the middle level, but he is a wizard, and he is also a student of Ivan. In the wizarding world, students of the same school and the same class are quite important connections. Recruiting Ronald is more reliable than randomly pulling a few people from outside to join 033. At least we know everything, right? "Ronald, do you know the purpose of our gathering together?" Ronald hesitated for a moment. He looked at Harry and said, "Harry said that it is to make the magic world better." "Yes, what do you think?" "What?" Ronald was stunned for a moment, looking at Ivan in confusion. "What do you think?" Ivan said, "Except for Neville, none of us know much about the wizarding world. You are the little wizard who grew up in the wizarding world. So, I want to hear your opinion." Ivan tried to keep his tone as calm as possible. He had used the wrong method before and only looked at Ronald from the perspective of ability. But think about it. Is Ronald really worthless? No, he is. Ronald's Weasley family is one of the 28 sacred families, and the only family willing to get close to Muggles. Most importantly, the Weasley family advocates innovation, and they are full of curiosity about Muggle items. Accepting Ronald is equivalent to extending an olive branch to the Weasley family. "Don't worry, just tell the truth." Ivan said directly, "No matter, Ronald, you're right or wrong. I will let you join. You can rest assured." Really, hearing that he can join, Ronald immediately became excited. No one knows how powerful Ivan is better than him as Harry's best friend. Killing trolls and repelling Voldemort with ease, plus all the professor's praise and his various performances in class. Ivan is a natural wizard, destined to become the second Dumbledore in the future. George and Fred commented on Ronald's classmate. Even if he is a troublemaker, he can feel a rising star. His brilliance is so dazzling that it almost overshadows the brilliance of everyone in the same era. Ronald took a deep breath and calmed down. "To be honest, I think it's stupid." "Oh," Ivan smiled. This time it was not a disguise, but a real happy smile. This guy. However, unlike Ivan, Hermione was obviously unhappy with Ronald's evaluation. Neville lowered his head, not knowing what he was thinking. Parvati thought carefully, as if thinking about how to refute Ronald's next words. "Max." Ivan stopped Hermione and signaled her to calm down. "Tell me more about it." Ivan encouraged. "Don't be afraid. You can say anything. The organization is still in its infancy, and we will humbly accept any good suggestions." Chapter 86. The Holy Body That Blocks the Knife. Ronald. Well, then I said, "Ronald, actually, I don't really understand what you mean by making the magic world better. I think the current magic world is good enough." Ronald's thoughts also represent the ideas of most young wizards and adult wizards. They don't think the magic world needs to change at all. Sure enough, Hermione said dissatisfiedly, "I have said it before, there is no need to tell him these things. He knows nothing." "No, nothing." Ronald showed an impatient look. He was only fearless when he was talking to Hermione. I don't know what you muggles think, but this is the magic world. In my eyes, the life of muggles is more puzzling to me. This is a conflict of ideas, and is also a basic contradiction caused by different values and worldviews. Just like muggles think that falling from dozens of floors will definitely lead to death. However, wizards think this can only be regarded as a small accident. Under the power of magic, many fatal injuries in the eyes of muggles can only be regarded as minor fights. What wizards really fear is curses, not physical attacks. Physical injuries, relying on potions and spells. As long as timely treatment, there's no need to worry about life safety. In the second grade, Harry's entire arm turned into rubber and had no bones. But with just a cup of potion, Madame Pomfrey could restore him to his original state. This kind of magical skill is enough to subvert the imagination of muggles. Okay, don't quarrel. Ivan held Hermione and said to Ronald at the same time, "You too, yeah." Sorry. Ronald hated Hermione, but he really had no temper with Ivan. "It's okay," Ivan said. "If you had spoken your mind at the beginning instead of hiding it, I would have recognized you more." What? Ronald was a little unbelievable. "Everyone is different, Ronald." Ivan patted Ronald on the shoulder. He walked to the edge of the Black Lake, with his back to everyone. "Hermione is very smart. Parvati is careful and cautious. Neville is determined. Harry is brave and smart. And you, Ronald?" Hearing this, Ronald became nervous again. He longed to hear Ivan's praise, to hear what kind of advantages he would find in him. "You are vain and like to show off." Ronald's eyes widened, and he never expected Ivan to say that to him. However, before Ronald could feel sad or angry, Ivan changed the subject and said, "Do you think these are shortcomings?" No, in my opinion, these are exactly your greatest advantages, Ronald." Advantages? Ronald couldn't understand it all. When Ivan said those words just now, he thought Ivan was insulting himself. But seeing Ivan's serious look, Ronald swallowed his saliva and asked, "What do you mean? Look at Harry. Isn't he famous enough?" "Yeah. The savior of the wizarding world, who was able to defeat Voldemort as a child, is a true legend." Then Harry. Ivan looked at Harry and asked, "If you were asked to stand up and a group of wizards came to praise you, what would you do?" "That would be too uncomfortable." Harry's good character is truthfulness. He is not a vain person. If it is his, Harry will accept it without hesitation. But for the praise of the savior, which is not real in Harry's eyes, he will only feel embarrassed. Neville is not to mention. He is a complete social phobia. Hermione, Parvati, and even Penelope, do they like the feeling of standing in the spotlight? Anyway, Ivan doesn't like it. Let him deal with politicians and pure-blood nobles and waste time arguing and quarreling with them. Ivan would rather not establish this organization. It's a waste of time. Get it, Ronald. We can't adapt to that kind of life, Ivan, but you can. Just like some people in the Muggle world, borrowing sports cars from their friends, and then showing off and flirting with girls everywhere with sports cars that don't belong to them. In Ivan's opinion, such people who are obviously vain but can play coolly are quite amazing. Of course, this kind of people are different from Lockhart's self-deception. The latter is a liar. As for the former, only people who are equally vain will take the bait. Ronald scratched his head awkwardly and said, "Ivan, are you praising me or insulting me? I'm a little dizzy." We need someone who is willing to stand in front of the stage and attract a lot of attention for us. Ivan could see Ronald's character and nature. He was suitable for this job, and there was no need to worry about his betrayal. The Weasley family's bloodline destined the red-haired people to be loyal and brave. You can say Ronald is stupid, timid, and incompetent, but you can't say he will flee in the face of danger. The Weasley family is full of loyal and brave people. At the critical moment, everyone can sacrifice their lives. But Ronald didn't expect Ivan to think so highly of him. "What can I do?" "I can't do anything. It doesn't matter." Ivan told Ronald that he didn't need to know anything. "You just need to know how to use this vanity." "What does it mean?" For example, Ivan gave a speech and he won the admiration and followers of countless people. As a leader, Ivan needs to remain mysterious. He can't talk about interests with the Chanair family like a businessman. So, he needs a spokesperson, someone who understands the wizarding world and can compete with those native wizards. You can say that this is a pretense. However, this is what Ronald likes to do. This is very offensive, and Ivan told him the consequences in advance. But our brave red-haired Weasley Ronald said that he didn't care. I do. Ronald thought it was really great. No need to bury your head in practicing magic. Just act as a shield and attract attention for Ivan and others. It might be dangerous then. The other members hid in the dark, and when others wanted to cause trouble, the first person they would look for was Ronald. He might be kidnapped, interrogated, and tortured. So what? Ronald was the type who knew he was a nobody, but when things really got tough, he would still bite the bullet and go for it. Dark wizards will also target you. Oh, Ronald was completely excited. He stared at Ivan, feeling like he had met a true confidant. Isn't that even cooler? Inferior, ordinary, poor Ronald Weasley. He dreams of being the center of attention. Danger is his little Ronald's favorite thing. Very good. Ivan looked at Harry and said, "So from today on, Ronald, you are the goalkeeper of our mysterious side." Goalkeeper? Like the goalkeeper in Quidditch, who doesn't let anyone score a goal. Great. Ivan, you're so nice to me. Ronald's brain circuit is different from Ivan and others. He feels very satisfied with things that seem dangerous and can't improve themselves. Harry, Ronald will be in charge from now on. Ronald doesn't need to participate in specific experiments. He will know some secrets, but they don't involve course secrets. Similarly, Ronald doesn't need to study hard with Ivan and others. He just needs to make good use of his identity as a member of the mysterious side. I know. Harry mourned for his friend for 3 seconds. Ronald didn't know what he would encounter in the future. In desperation, Harry could only try his best to help Ronald so that he could suffer less setbacks. As for Penelope's assessment, she is a 5th-year student, a class leader, and the most popular senior at Hogwarts. Since Ivan brought her here personally, everyone naturally accepted her joining. Let's go. Let's go to the secret base. Ivan called everyone, and they all went to the room of requirement on the 8th floor. It was the first time for Ronald and Penelope to come here. They were extremely shocked that Ivan and his friends could find the room of requirement. So cool. Ronald was amazed. He looked at the wide training ground and regretted not building a good relationship with Ivan earlier. How did you find it? Penelope was much calmer. The senior walked to Ivan and asked in a low voice, could it be that it also relied on that kind of prophecy magic? Almost. Ivan did not answer directly. He walked to the front of the crowd and indicated that he had something to say. Just now we said that we want to make the magic world better. Ronald Zhao thinks that the magic world is already perfect enough and does not need any so-called changes. Ivan put his hands behind his back, glanced at everyone, and then said, I don't know if that is correct, but I can give you a prophecy, which is also the future of the Muggle world that I see. The little wizards had different expressions on their faces about the future of the Muggle world. Hermione was quite interested. Neville was confused. Penelope and Parvati were curious. Take a good look, Ivan said, and a white mist rose from his body. What will the Muggles who need protection be like in 30 years from now, according to the wizards? Everyone had never seen such a magical scene. The next moment, Ivan opened his mouth and spit out thick white mist towards the center of the training room. This scene was very similar to the scene when Grindelwald predicted the wizards in the Père Lachaise cemetery during World War II. The white mist contained Ivan's mind and will. He combined it with prophecy to create a memory picture that could be seen by outsiders. Beep! The bullet-shaped high-speed train jumped out of the mist and passed through Ronald and Neville's bodies, scaring them. Tall buildings appeared at everyone's feet like mushrooms after rain, and then the scene in the white mist expanded. Everyone seemed to be ants in the grass, and could only look up at these magnificent buildings built by Muggles. Chapter 87. Starting from transforming Muggle items, praise the new era. All kinds of high technology and cameras and satellite surveillance in every corner. As for those war weapons that have long existed, Ronald, who was born and raised in this place, was extremely shocked. Boom! The hazy fog showed a mushroom cloud rising into the sky. The terrifying storm that destroyed a city in an instant overturned the imagination of all the little wizards on the scene about power. Don't say Ronald was confused. Hermione felt a shudder. What? Muggle weapons. It is also the future of this world. Ivan did not hide it. He knew how far the Muggle world would develop.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.